Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, however good it feels, etc., etc. It's me, Legal Vices, and this is my channel, Legal Vices, and you're here to talk about legal vices and, in business's case, some illegal vices, because now she's a convicted murderer. First of all, rando question. Does my audio sound as bad to you as it does to me? I've put the microphone in a new position here, and I think it sounds hollow and echoey. Was I stupid for putting it here? One in chat's for stupid to putting it here. Two, you're making a big deal out of nothing. That's the Insta poll for the day. One, the audio sucks. Two, it's okay. Okay, we got a lot of Y's and a couple of no's, and so yeah, one's for it's good. Two for one it sucks. Two is great. Well, it looks like more of you say it sucks than is good, so. All right. My bad. I'll put it back tomorrow. I just like to have a free space. You got a microphone that's either covering the keyboard, covering part of the screen, whatnot. Just wanted to hear how it sounded to you guys, because it sounds a little tinny to me. But it looks to be more people saying it sucks. Let's see if I can alter it a little bit here. Yeah, now. All right, well, we'll move it off to the side here a little bit. You can put the cover back on. All right, well, this is as good as it's going to get for today. So we'll just have this little shotgun over here for the rest of it. All right. I can't, if I bring it closer, then it'll be like right here in front of the microphone. So because it's like right above the camera, but now I've swung it off to the side and done some gymnastics. All right, this is it. That's it. Enough of that. Nobody came here to hear about that. So, right. What we're going to be doing is today is what I like to do at the end of every trial that I stream. We sort of do a little breakdown, the highs and the lows, and what lessons, if any, we can learn from this. What's the big takeaway? And I had enough rest. I was planning on doing this yesterday, but or even Friday evening U.S. time. But I guess that would have been. I hate international date lines and time zones and things. Yeah, I was planning on doing this yesterday, but when it came time to load everything up, I thought, I'll just wait another day. Recovery was a big one for this one. All right, but we're not gonna do this alone today. We're gonna be doing this with our special surprise guest. And today's special surprise guest is probably not a surprise to anybody because it's Steve Gosney. Howdy, sir.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise. Come on, we've covered the whole trial together.
Yeah,
this was your moment. You've been promoting this trial for quite a while, and I think you had the best commentary, the best guests, and thank you for letting me share your stream with you. You don't have to do that. It's out of your generosity that you did that. So, and I'm happy. I think it was a very interesting trial, and I think it played out.
I did too. It was good. I mean, the trial was pretty good for the most part, and we had a decent time. We had a great panel of guests. We had some good stories from the trial. So I think on our end we all did a great job. So.
Well, and you had an interesting panel. There was little things going on, little side rivulets that were all going on, and all sorts of interesting stuff. But it was an interesting trial. I did my grading, and Raketa and I got into it with our disagreement of the defense attorney. I ended up giving him a low C. Raketa felt he was a D-, but it wasn't that, we weren't that far off. In fact, I think MG Law and MLS Law and a few others were saying, they were saying C-, D+. So, anyways, I'm just talking. What were your thoughts? What do you think about? I think the big controversy on this, the big takeaway, is that the defense attorney what is the defense attorney's level of competence? That was the kind of the question. I think the superstar of your question was superstar was clearly the judge was the superstar.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, that's one thing. And we're going to talk a lot about the defense attorney, but there's a big difference between competence and performance, competence and effort. That's the word I was looking for. There's a big, I mean, he was clearly competent. Otherwise he wouldn't have the job. I mean, he wouldn't be trying death penalty. Well, it's not a death penalty case. He wouldn't be trying life in prison cases, horrific graphic murder cases if he was incompetent. But he's clearly competent. I just think the effort was lacking.
Well, and I think that's the big thing is his heart really wasn't in it, right? His heart really wasn't in it, and that came across, and that's sort of fatal. When you do a trial, you really have to believe in it. And I think there was a strategy that he could have believed in, that he could have argued, that he did not. He didn't go down that path, but it really is. It's difficult because he's in a no-win situation. It was not a winnable case, and
No,
and
it
that's
wasn't.
what people. It's like, what do you do in that situation? I guess you should put your best into it, but he just didn't. I think he kind of mailed it in. It was a Johnny Lunch bucket type thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's also a question that we need to look at is what does doing your best really mean? You can do your technical best, you can do your performative best, you can do your showmanship best. And I think everybody's concept of best differs in that regard.
Well, and you don't know who this guy is too. It could be his style that he's very laid back and low key, and the judge, I'm sure, asks for that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of dramatics would not go over well in that courtroom. So, and he was very professional. I do think he knew his objections. He was timely with his objections. He was professional. There was a lot of professional courtesy. So there was, as a defense lawyer, sometimes I think there's a mistake that they confuse the defense case with the defense lawyer, right? And that's what we have to be careful of. Is the defense lawyer the case? No. So how do you judge? And that's what is the standard by which you judge the defense attorney? So, okay, was he competent? Yes, he was competent. His passion level down. He could have believed in his case. There was and I think that the insanity defense, you have to play to the insanity defense. So, anyways, I'm just talking.
No, that's what we're here for. This is a laid back thing. And there's going to be a lot of audience participation too here because it's just a chill stream. It's a chill stream where we're talking about stuff, and we're seeing how it goes. And people in chat are going to have comments, questions, opinions. I want to engage the chat here quite a bit as well. So where to start? That's kind of the. Oh, well, we should start with all of the housekeeping stuff that I forgot to do.
You didn't do the whole intro about the mens rea. Of course, you probably got to change that up eventually because was mens rea really the thing here?
Yeah, no, yeah, it really was. But we had our little business animation thing there at the beginning for this trial. So that's our trial. That's our new trial intro. We're going to change it up for each trial. But first of all, hit that like and subscribe button. We have really taken off with these business videos and whatnot. Surprisingly.
What are your impressions now after you've been through this? And I kind of have a question for the host. And you've been looking very forward to this trial, and you've put a lot of it, right? What now that we're over and done with it, pretty much, you're still sentencing. What is your impression? What did you expect and it fit, or what didn't expect, or how did it come out for you? Because you put a lot of mental energy into that.
Oh yeah, it would, and we will definitely get there as soon as I do the quick housekeeping stuff here, and we'll dive straight into that issue. First, we've got you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. As I was saying, we've really taken off with the Shabusiness coverage. We've picked up about 4,000 subscribers since this started. So we're currently at 63,388, and it seems about every hour we get 20 or 30 more an hour. So this is nice. I'm quite enjoying it. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and take our poll. Today's poll is basically you guys. What do you guys think? Who was the star of the show? The prosecutor, the judge, the medical examiner, or Shabusiness herself? Currently, the judge is leading with 60% of the vote, and this early in the game, that's a pretty good indication of how it's going to end up, I guess. John Byrne in chat. Hey, John Byrne. John Byrne is He's our emoji guy. John, I would love a whole slew of new emojis. We need a shabusiness. The ones we need urgently, we need some sort of shabusiness emoji if you can pull that off somehow. 2, we need some sort of muted thing, because that's what I do. I mute myself a lot. So,
A boomer muting emoji. That would be interesting.
Yeah, so those are 2 that we stand in urgent need of: a shabusiness emoji, and I mean, good luck figuring out what to do with that, and a muted thing. People have been calling for a muted emoji for quite some time, but John Byrne is the guy that's giving you all of these member emojis. So if you join up, if you sign up for the membership, or if you get a gifted membership, you have all these emojis were put together by John Byrne. Great to see you here.
That's neat. Custom emojis. You've got quite the. Of course, that's part of the whole Vice Squad, right?
Yeah, and he's a good man. John Byrne is a great guy. It's been a minute. We got 3 super chats here, and then let's dive into this. The Chuggy Show Live kicking us off. Let me, if I click that, you can't see it. So let me click them in the right place. The Chuggy Show says, "You and Nick are right. I wouldn't want my lawyer basing his approach to my case on, well, the optics facts are so hard, I'm not even going to try. Won't matter."
Yeah, and I get, and that's a valid criticism. It was a mail it in kind of thing, and he gets hit on for passion, and obviously the insanity defense. I think that the avenue that he could have made is that she was choking him, and there was no premeditation. Gone for the second-degree murder. Gone for the thing that she was on, riding him like a donkey, right, and putting the chain around his neck and pulling the chain, and that was all in good fun. And then she just lost it. She lost the ability to control herself and went too far and killed him in a heat of passion, which is exactly what the heat of passion would fit. However, sorry, I'm a little distracted. However, he didn't do that, and you need permission of your client to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to use my wrench.
And we know it's like two strikes, brother. 2 strikes. One more and we're done.
Yes. Just so that people know, they need to watch the stream, because if Mr. Have Fun, you don't give gifts with an expectation to get something back. I thanked you in that live stream. I treated you very well. I gave you 2 hours lead time, and I was very happy to receive your gift, and I was very kind, and I let those other people, we had a great stream, and you need to go and check yourself, because you're threatening my guests, and you're threatening me, you're disparaging me, and you need to get a handle on it, because I do not want that around my stream. So you're causing stuff in the chat, and you're distracting me. So stop it. And and if you think that you're owed something, people give me stuff all the time, and Jeff knows. People donate. Look at the money that's coming into Jeff's stream. We've got people that give out of their own good heart, like my book has been funded. So there needs to be some check on this whatever's going on in your head. I have sympathy, and I feel bad for you, but this is not the way to win friends and influence people.
And not on my stream. So the 2 strikes notice has been given. That's it. Just everybody chill.
I don't think, if you watch that stream, it was I just got done with stream. We dumped it over Vices. I ate dinner. It was a beautiful stream. We had a great time talking about toys. So you're not the only one in the world with toys. You're not the only one in the world, period. So get a handle on it. I'm sorry, I'm bringing the drama in, but there's a lot of crap going on and being thrown my way.
All right. Well, we are done with that. I declare that absolutely done, and let's just chill, bro. All right. We were just gifted 10 Legal Vices memberships by Hempland, Texas. Everybody, Hempland, give her a big shout out, especially if you got one of those 10 Legal Vices memberships.
Right. Well, so the passion. Yeah. So he could have argued the passion. He could have been passionate. So if he had said, all right, but see, in order to make that defense, you need permission of your client. And I'm not certain that he had permission of the client. Right? I mean, do you think that if not, I'm sure she's saying you need to plea, right? You need to plea. And
there's
if
nothing
she
to
doesn't
plea,
want to
though, is the
plea,
problem
and
with
she
it,
doesn't
yeah.
give him permission to go for the lesser, he has to say she's not guilty, and then he has to say she's not insane, right? Or she's insane. So that has to be the argument. Well, the not guilty thing is so bad because the confession gave out details. It gave out details that were only known by the perpetrator of the crime.
Yeah.
They did not feed her the details, right? I mean, it was clear. In fact, I was always noting one of the things that was surprising about the whole thing is that it was surprising about the whole confession was how honest she was. She came in, most confessions, when you see, there's like an hour lead time of them denying it.
Yeah.
And then they finally break down and they let it out or something. They convince, they figure I better say what the truth is. But she comes in, she's like, yep, killed him. This is what happened.
Yeah,
And she said, I don't really remember, I was blacked out, but she pretty quickly went and laid out the whole thing. She knew where the body parts were. She knew what happened. So there was a lot of stuff there. So,
and she was being helpful from the beginning when they came to arrest her. She gave them their case. I mean, it wasn't really a big problem figuring out who did it, but she pretty much gave them their entire case.
Right. So what do you do in that phase one?
Yeah.
If she doesn't want to plea, she doesn't want to take a stand, she doesn't want to admit anything, what do you say? You can't argue for the lesser. You have to say, well, she didn't do it. And there could have been here's another criticism I have of the defense lawyer. I gave him a low C, not a D-.
Oh, wow.
A low C.
I thought you would give him around a B-ish.
No, I gave him a low C.
Okay. Wow.
But because it was workmanlike, could have been better. I took off for the passion. It was satisfactory. He knew his objections. He objected appropriately and timely. He preserved his stuff. Maybe he was clear. I think he did know the case. So he knew his facts. He knew what the witnesses were. He behaved well. He cooperated well. All those things, right? So, but the passion was there. So what do you argue if you said he didn't do it? See, if you don't have an overarching theme, the theme drives your cross-examinations. I did not like any of his cross-examinations. I did not really understand the purpose of any of his cross-examinations. Did you?
No. Well, at first I thought the purpose of his cross-examinations was to say, I asked some questions. It's not ineffective assistance of counsel. But then he kept asking questions and kept asking questions.
Yeah, he was serving up the prosecution team, wasn't he?
Well, he was restating the prosecutor's questions,
which is a bad habit that a lot of lawyers do. And he did that with everybody. He did everybody there, right?
Yeah, literally everybody.
Everybody. So that was bad. Now, you say like it was... You can't worry about ineffective assistance of counsel. The way you avoid ineffective assistance of counsel is you do a good job.
Well, I mean, if you want to get even more basic than that, you want to avoid ineffective assistance of counsel. Have a law license and show up. That's about. I mean, that's as close as you're going to get to a real definition. Just show up. I mean,
well, and which stream was it on? Was it on? Because I went on Nick's stream and he was arguing maybe about this, and I was arguing with him. We had a big dust up about the grade of the defense attorney, and one of them was about competency. Where was that? Did I talk about competency here?
No, because I mean, he was clearly competent. Like if he wasn't competent, they wouldn't have given him the case.
Oh no, but
he wouldn't be
she competent.
Oh.
You see, and the argument, I think it was Nick making this point, and I really, again, another one I'm going to disagree with my buddy Nick. He was saying that her lack of competency, they challenged her competency. The defense attorney said she's not competent. Now that doesn't mean insane. That means she's not able to meaningfully assist in the defense, right? And they filed a motion for competency vow. The competency vow came back, she was competent, and then she's saying, by interacting with her at the defense table, she was throwing away a competency appellate issue. All right. And that is, I gotta disagree. And I'm telling you, as a criminal defense lawyer, that is not what's going on here. That's not the way these things unfold. So you have competency and you have sanity. Competency is, are you able to meaningfully assist in your defense, right?
Yeah.
And we deal with this all the time. When you deal with somebody who cannot meaningfully assist, you file a suggestion of incompetency with the court. The court is then obligated. This is the way it works in Florida. I'm sure they have similar rules, but this is kind of generally the way it works. The court then orders a competency evaluation, and they appoint a set of doctors, either 1 or 3, that come back and analyze her for competency. Do you know this is your defense lawyer? That's the judge. That's the prosecutor. This is the jury. This is their function, right? So they go through all these things. Then they come back, yes, she's competent, all right? And when they come back and they say she's competent, you move forward. Now, if the guy had continuing issues with communication, you continue to file competency. Says, well, they came back and she's supposed to be competent, but I still can't communicate. She's not helpful. And you send her back. And it kind of just goes on and goes on. And the question is, she be rehabilitated? But see, I don't think that's what happened here. I think instead what happened was the defense attorney, this is a major case. It's a murder case. She's facing life in prison. As a matter of procedure, as a matter of just, what you got to do on the checklist, on Johnny Lunch Bucket checklist, is to file a competency eval for her, get her evaluated for competency. They come back competent, and she's assisting in the defense, so he has no further reason to question her competency. But he's doing the competency eval just to make sure that that's covered, so he doesn't get ineffective assistance. And once he does it, it's like it's not a real issue for him, right?
Well, I mean, I want. Here's my 2 cents. It's probably going to be more closer to $1 or so, because it's gonna take a minute. So Nick was saying that she could no longer argue incompetency because she was talking to her defense lawyer. That was Nick's position. The
defense lawyer should have preserved the competency issue by saying, I can't communicate with her. I don't know. She's not helping. But every time he leans over and asks her, then he's defeating that by, but that's just not the way it works.
Well, I mean, that train left the station because unlike Pope Nick, I watched the most recent 2 competency hearings. She didn't have 1 competency hearing. She didn't even have 2 competency hearings. She had 5 competency hearings. She had 5 separate competency hearings. The first one was day 1. The defense lawyer asked for a competency hearing because there was I'm still in jail doing the initial hearings. She was just wandering around the cell mumbling to herself and saying, yeah, she's not talking to me. I can't communicate with her. We need a competency hearing. Judge said, okay. Hi, dogs. The dogs just moseyed on her.
Yeah. There's Jackson over here. Look.
It was he's behind your thing. Hang on.
There he is.
What's up, doggos? All right.
Double doggo camp.
So the court-appointed examiner came back and said, yes, she's competent. The defense said, we'd like a second opinion. And the judge, who's a great judge, we all agree with that. The judge said, well, I already gave you one, and you just want another because you don't like the answer they gave you. How many of these are you going to do? Am I going to be doing one of these every time you ask for one until he comes back with the answer you want? I'll tell you what, if you want to pay for it, I'll give you your second competency evaluation. The second competency evaluation, paid for by I assume by the public defender's office, came back competent. And they said, okay. So then they moved. Then that's when they changed they didn't change it. They added the not guilty by reason of insanity, which automatically triggered a third competency evaluation. Came back competent to stand trial. The fourth came right towards the end. The fourth and the fifth came right towards the end. The fourth evaluation was was crazy cat lady that the defense paid for. And of course, the person paid for by the defense to testify on behalf of the defendant, found the defendant incompetent to stand trial, which probably shocked absolutely nobody. And the court said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do another court-ordered evaluation at the same time you're doing that one. And then I'll decide based on both of the findings. Because, of course, the judge knew that they would come back and find him not competent. So the judge assigned the guy that did the third evaluation, he was the expert, the first guy that testified for the defense, for the prosecution during the penalty phase. I'm not the penalty, during the insanity phase. So yeah, that was the same guy. He did 2 evaluations. And of course he came back and said, so she was evaluated 5 times for competency. 4 times yes, 1 time no, and the 1 time no is from the defense lawyer. So the is she competent to stand trial train left the station a long time ago. She was clear in the we were kind of critical of the prosecutor when he was questioning the crazy cat lady psychologist by saying, why is he asking all these softball questions? Why is that's what he did during his cross-examination of her during her competency, the competency hearing that she testified at. He just kind of lulled her into this, okay, I'm asking softball questions. And then the same thing he did during the insanity phase 2, he unleashed on her. You didn't do any of the tests to find out if she was malingering. You didn't do any of the tests to find out, what her previous. You didn't look at any of her previous history. You didn't do. I mean, he just marched down and destroyed her. And one of the things was, did you explain the role of a prosecutor? Yes. Did she understand it? Did she understand the role of a judge? Yes. Did she understand what she was on trial for? Yes. Did she understand the charges against her? Yes. Did she understand what the penalty is? Yes. And he just marched her right down there and he was, okay, so she's competent and done. So yeah, there was no way of arguing that she was incompetent.
Well, and I've dealt with a lot of incompetent clients, right? And she does not strike me as being incompetent. I mean, she was assisting in her defense. She was communicating. She answered the judges coherently. She had and the statement that she made to the police was not incompetent. There was nothing that struck me to her as being incompetent, as in not being able to assist in her defense. She seemed communicative. From what we heard about her and everything I've observed, there did not seem to be that issue. Like I said, I've dealt with people who were incompetent that she couldn't deal with. But I will say that she did have an expression on her face, like she would have kind of this look like this, the squinty look and kind of the giggly thing. And I've seen people with mental illness that have that same sort of effect that they project, right? Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I have seen that before. It's like there's an internal dialogue and they're in their own little world, right?
Yeah,
that doesn't mean
right.
It may be signs of mental illness or some mental disturbance or internal dialogue. It doesn't mean that they're insane for the purposes of not guilty by reason of insanity. It means they might have had a drug problem. They've messed up their brain chemistry. They've got issues, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a big. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's such a hard case. I mean, the thing that's why I'm saying separate out the case from the defense attorney, right?
Well, and that's the important thing to note too. That I kept trying to make the distinction to keep in people's heads that the issue of is she competent to stand trial now? Is her crazy behavior now? Is what she did attacking her lawyer? All of that is that evidence that she was insane at the time she committed the murder. Her actions during the trial, during all the pretrial stuff, since she's been arrested, whatever, all of that has not a single thing to do with the issue of was she legally insane at the time she committed the murder. The only thing that matters was her state of mind at the instant she committed the killings. Was she insane at that time? Did she know what she was doing at that instant was wrong?
Right.
Which,
and that's
which I think clearly if you're hiding the body parts.
There's two parts of the insanity defense, right? There's did she know right from wrong at the time of the commission of the offense, all right? But then there's or is she does her mental defect generate, I forget how exactly words, I'd have to read the instruction, but does it prevent her from being, what do you call it? It's like, does it hinder her ability to stop herself? And see, that's where I think that's where the avenue, he should have emphasized that second part of the insanity defense.
Let's get through some more of these super chats here. And then we want to do something that I like to do in these breakdowns. Just go back to the opening statements of both parties.
I sent you the plot time when she attacked her.
Oh yeah. We did a whole show. We watched the whole show and the whole hearing, which clearly, and everybody, if you want to see the whole attack video, then go back and watch that stream on that, because it was clearly, to me, it just screamed fake attack. I mean, it was just like, even the cops like, all right, Schabusiness, come on, just, settle down. And I think that was one thing they emphasized during the cross-examination of Crazy Cat Lady was, these mental breaks don't happen. They don't happen instantly and go away instantly. They last for days. And that was her like attacking, like suddenly attack. And then 30 seconds later, she's on the floor going, oh, what happened? I don't know what happened. Yeah. Even the officer, they could have roughed her up good, but they're like, all right, you just,
they were very kind to her.
Yeah. I think they knew she was screwing around too. But even the attack was like, we know she can attack better than that, clearly, because she's on trial for attacking better.
Yeah, here, I'm going to look up the Florida 3.6A.
All right. While you're doing that, I will.
That way I can get the exact verbiage, and I'm sure it's similar.
Similar, yeah. Lily Smith, thank you so much. Are you doing Sarah Boone, who is, I think probably everybody's doing Sarah Boone. Yeah, I'll be doing Sarah Boone far in the future, hopefully. We're not doing trials for another couple of months. Courtney Clenny, Taylor Schabusiness. Wait, we just did Taylor. Courtney Clenny, Sarah Boone, and maybe Melly are probably the next ones that I'll be thinking about doing. But I need a couple months break. This was rough. This took because I didn't sleep.
Yeah, how much sleep did you get? Oh my gosh.
I got from Monday morning to Friday night. 6.5, 7 hours total.
Have you
like less than 2 hours a day?
Did you have a good sleep last night?
Oh, I slept for 12 hours on Friday night my time, and I've never ever in my life slept for 12 hours. But so didn't I just see you playing with your toys, Steve? Yes, you did. It's fun to watch you, no matter what. Love you, Vices. I caught like the first few minutes of that, and then I had to start actually moving around the house and doing things. Lizbots, thank you so much. Wow, surprise stream. Got paid today, so take my money. Also, do you think Taylor Schabusiness was feigning? I don't think she ever. Well, I think she feigned the attack, but I don't think she was ever feigning insanity because she clearly. Well, I don't even. She didn't even fake it good. Well, okay. Well, during her questioning, her interview by her paid therapist. Yeah. We'll talk about this therapist later. She was just weird.
And can I also thank you for allowing me on your stream and allowing me to be here with you? And in response, I will say, sidecars are at issue, but it requires I always defer to Jeff. And I also say, this is my newest thing, treats for Jackson. So both of those things are in play tonight. But it's all Jeff. So it's up to Jeff. I'm his guest on his stream, and he's done more for me than I'd say anybody else. And I'm very humbled and blessed that you allow me.
Whatever, do your thing. Like I said, this is a total chill stream. Me, it's 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, so I cold brew my own coffee. This is a cold brew Vietnamese peaberry coffee. That's what I'm enjoying this morning. It's really good. Yeah. So she was feigning. That was part of the problem I had with Crazy Cat Lady.
Crazy Cat Lady
psychologist. You can just see her on The Simpsons. She's the one that's coming on with all the cats stuck on her. But
can I also say that people say that like they're criticizing the defense expert, all right? And they're saying you're paying her for her opinion, and she's going to change her opinion based on her being paid. Okay. I would suggest to you that that's not what's going on. I would suggest to you that she's a crazy cat lady, and that her genuine opinion is that she's kind of in la la land, right? And that's what she really believes. I think she really believes what she's saying, and the defense knows that this is the kind of the opinion that she would have. That's why you go and get her. So they select her because she's got the credential and she's in this left field. And so she's going to come in and support you because nobody would do this. And it just is so wrong, right? So
she did say the vast majority of her court testifying is for defense. So maybe she's just that true believer.
Well, and that's the thing. Because she's predisposed to be very pro-defense. So I don't really think that she's on that side naturally. So for her to come back with that opinion, I think she really believes it. And and there's true believers out there, and there's people very far on that side that will come up with that opinion at the right time. So I don't think that she was being dishonest. She was being true to herself, and she was selected for that personality quality. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might grudgingly be willing to consider that possibility, but I think she was kind of a hired gun. Like, oh yeah, all right, fine. I testify for defendants. You want me to do this? All right, I'll just, because the reason why I say that is, and it might also support your argument, was that she apparently never challenged a single thing Schabusines said. Like, well, she said she's hearing trains. She's seeing a green train with Johnny Cash dying on it. So, all right, that means she's crazy. And I wonder if I don't know if she does debriefs and listens to herself, but this whole, I don't think she's feigning it, but in 32 years of doing this, no one has ever thrown a chair at me. She's dealt with psychos, lunatics, terrible people, crazy people, not crazy people for 32 years, and no one has ever thrown a chair at her. Wouldn't that say she's behaving differently than your normal person that would fall into the insanity defense? If she's the only one that's throwing chairs, I don't think she was nearly that as critical of herself as she should have been. We have Rosalind Duke. Love you guys. Always spot on. Always my favorite. Well, thank you, Rosalind. Deeply appreciate
it. Rosalind, I always compliment. She's like the Southern beauty. Isn't that a Southern beauty right there?
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Manders, Beaker, not so much. Thank you so much. Agreed. The questions didn't make sense. Only thing I could think is he was making a record of ensuring witness statements weren't wavering, being her advocate. Yeah, don't make sure they're agreeing with the prosecutor. That's a bad
because he did not have a good theme. He did not have a good theme. Then that translated into incoherent questioning. It didn't have, like, if you could say, well, you weren't there, Mr. Officer, therefore, how can you don't know whether she was there or not, right? Okay, no questions. If your theme was she didn't do it, you could have done that, right? Or if your theme was, do you have any, is this crime scene consistent with somebody who acted in a heat of passion, who accidentally killed and then dismembered later to cover up the crime? There's no evidence. You don't have any evidence that opposes that theory of the case, do you? Okay, no further questions. I know that you could have, if you had a coherent narrative, you could have asked your questions around that narrative, but she didn't. He didn't have that narrative. Therefore, the questions were incoherent.
I give him, Letitia Stach's lawyer, and Lori Vallow's lawyer all a C+, or even a solid B, just because they were stuck with the most horrible clients ever. Okay. Bella Stella, thank you so much, BS. 6 a.m. over here. Happy to wake up to a live stream. Well, we're happy to live stream for you, Bella Stella. So thank you for bringing all of the AE DERs. We like our DERs. Unicorn 11, thanks for the great coverage. Went for the judge in the poll, but would have liked to have answered the medical examiner too. Oh, yeah. Well,
the medical examiner was excellent. You're right. It's a good point.
You should have voted for him.
Was he in the voting? I don't think they were in the voting.
Yep. The prosecutor, judge, medical examiner, and Schabusines herself.
Well, the medical examiner, not only was the medical examiner excellent, I would say most of the state witnesses were excellent. They were very fair, I thought, to the defense, and they were by the book, being businessy, and very good, very good. And I think that there was one exception. It was kind of the bald-headed older cop detective.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was getting a little squirrely with his answers, and I think that if you notice, that was when the defense questioning was the best, because the guy was trying to squirrel around to questions, and then the defense started jumping on him, right? Because he wasn't being honest, he wasn't being direct, he wasn't answering the questions. So that's a good example for cops who want to testify. Look at all the other witnesses and how they were direct. The defense wasn't the enemy. They were there to report the facts. And when the guy starts treating the defense as the enemy, that's when the defense was making points. And so that one cop I thought was, it wasn't terrible. I've seen a lot worse. Right? Remember the Murdoch trial?
Oh, yeah.
That was much worse. But in the and there was one other, and I missed it. And you got to remind me of this because I either wasn't listening or I missed it. Somebody mentioned the KKK and there was no objection. What was that?
I didn't hear that either.
Okay, because somebody said that the woman witness mentioned KKK and there was no, but I missed it. I didn't hear that. And, of course, I was sort of listening with one ear cocked while I was working. So I didn't fully get everything. But then people were saying that. Did anybody else see that? No? Okay. Maybe I missed it.
I didn't, that's for sure. I would have had some sort of overreaction to that if that would have happened. Yes. I didn't hear it. But I think the reason I thought this medical examiner was top quality was, one, he spoke slowly, but not too slowly. And he enunciated every word very clearly, very precisely. And he was presenting, it was just his style. Too often you get the medical examiners and just sit there and go, all right, the diagram shows this and it shows this and it shows that. I mean, he was dispassionate, but he also had something in his voice, a timbre in his voice or something that made him engaging. He sort of seemed to be sympathetic, but detached at the same time. It was really hard to put my foot, my finger,
put your foot on it.
My
foot in the chest cavity.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just something I can't put my foot in the chest cavity over. So I can't put my finger on it, but it was just the way he presented it. His style was compassionate and caring, yet dispassionate and removed. And I loved the way he did it. It was perfect testimony. We have Captain Have Fun. Sorry to anger you, brother. I'm just used to working in Hollywood. I was all excited to be there. I don't know why no one reached out to me, but it's okay. You rule. No, I don't know what you're talking about, Captain Have Fun.
Well, this whole little drama. I invited him 2 hours before the stream, and I forgive you and I apologize if you took it wrong, if you feel you were wrong in any way. But in all honesty, I don't do drama. So, but cheers to you. We are not doing it here. The best.
We're definitely not doing drama here. Lily Smith, Steve, are you really going to be in Destin, Florida next week? Are you bringing books? I want to come.
Yes, I will be in Destin, Florida on Wednesday, which is next Wednesday. I'm going to go see the Ginger concert, and I will do a meet and greet at 6:30 at the Starbucks across the street from the venue. So if you want to, I'll bring books. If you want to email me, I will bring a book if you wish to buy. It's not set up as any kind of formal thing. It's basically, I'm just going to meet people before the concert. Come, if you want to come to the concert, man, we'll meet in the mosh pit. That would be cool. But so absolutely come see me in Destin. It'll be at the Starbucks 6:30 next Wednesday.
Mosh pit in the Starbucks. Cool.
Well, Starbucks then the
I know. It's me, Josie. Hey, Josie, what's up? It's me, Josie81. Stop being rude to Steve. Steve Gosney is bae. # free Zachariah Anderson.
What is
I ain't no slouch either. It's me, Josie. I ain't no. He's a bae, but I ain't no slouch either.
It's all good. Everything's forgiven. No problems. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for speaking. What does BAE mean?
You're a baby. You're a bae. You're
really?
A baby. Steve's baby.
I don't even get that. I've never had that, but I'm really thank you for that. I don't know that. Free
Welcome
Zachariah
to the world
Anderson.
of YouTube. YouTube is good for your self-esteem. Usually, sometimes, if you're cool.
Sometimes it can be. Depends who you are. It is.
See, now I got drama with it's me, Josie. Yeah, I ain't chopped liver. I ain't shabusiness liver over here.
Yeah. Well, I was on with Law and Lumber the other day. I've never been on with him before. Nice guy, very smart. And there was this other fellow from Peter from what was the name of it? The Lawyer You Don't Know, I think that's
The Lawyer You Know, Peter Tragos, yeah.
Peter Tragos, yeah. That's a good looking man. And I'm on there with these guys and I'm like, man, I'm just chopped liver over here.
Yeah, I'm the straightest guy there is, but you look at Peter and you go, it's a good looking guy.
But yeah, and I'm not a terrible judge of male beauty, but I'm looking at that guy, I'm like, he's all tanned and good looking and he's together. I'm like, he's definitely got me on that department.
Yeah. I'm there too. Hard to rate a judge, says Joseph Nash. Thank you so much for your super.
No, I don't agree with that,
Joseph. In such a one-sided case. No, he was sharp. He told them in February, we are going to trial July 24th. Get used to it. And he stuck to that. He said, we're going to have a 5-day trial. He had a 4-day trial. Yeah, I mean, he kept them on. He said we're starting at 8:15. They started at 8:15.
And
was
but
sharp.
here's the thing:
Yeah.
he was very fair, and fairness is number one.
Yeah.
He was very smart, and he had a great judicial demeanor. Controlled his courtroom. He was very efficient. Got the witnesses in. Didn't tolerate. Listened to both sides. He had open mind. He would rule fairly according to the law, and he would explain why he was ruling. I think that judge, he's the best judge I've ever seen. I'd say on the internet. I gave him a 100.
I agree. I agree with that. And he
That's
did something that we
judge
don't
right
see. Yeah. And he did something we don't see judges do these days. Now, I don't know when this trend started or why this trend even started, but we saw it in Murdoch. We saw it with Schrader in Zachariah Anderson's deal, where the judges don't judge. The judges, they don't make the decisions. They hear both sides and they say, oh, well, all right, well, we'll defer this. And then if it becomes a problem, we'll deal with it later. This judge is not judging thing. It's literally in your job title.
Yeah.
I loved him that he would make the decisions. He would man up. He would take responsibility. He would make the decisions. He would make the rulings. And he deferred a couple of things that, I mean, were legitimately deferrable.
No, this is, to me, and he reminds me, I worked most of my trials, my first, I had a great judge I worked under named Richard O. Watson. The courthouse in St. John's is named after him. And he's a great, great judge. And this guy actually reminded me of him. Now, I can't judge him completely. I'm just looking at the window of this one case. Like I said, he may have enemies and people that hate him. But when I'm looking at him, the way he ruled, the way he controlled the courtroom, his fairness, his listening, his open mind, he didn't just rule, and he was courteous. He was courteous to the defendant.
Yes.
And and that is so excellent. That is so excellent because remember the Parkland judge and how she was so
You mean the Parkland former judge?
Former judge, vicious and emotional and one-sided and just
what you mean?
You get out of this courtroom right now, and it's
hugging the prosecution team. That's one-sided. What?
So yeah, so it's this judge, he was so respectful and gentle to this defendant, and you'd say, well, she's a monster, right? She's a horror show, but he was respectful to her, and why not? Why not discipline yourself to give that person the respect that they deserve? And which may be none, but it's how you treat others and how you act is a reflection on you. And so he was maintained the dignity of that courtroom. Like I said, every judge should watch the way this guy runs. This is the kind of judge we need. More people like him. In this case, and like I said, there may be people up there in Wisconsin say, you don't know the real story, right? But this is my judgment from watching that case, and I watched most of that case. So excellent judge. And I think you can sense it by watching the case, even when it's one-sided, because that's when the challenge is. If you've got a case that's down the middle and you're fair, okay, well, but if you've got a case that's so overwhelmingly against, right, it would be easy to give short shrift to the defendant, right? It would be easy just to roll him over.
Yeah, well, and even he was very accommodating to the defense attorney too. Especially with the experts. He gave them a chance to back out without being crushed in open court. Especially with the one expert, I almost said psychologist, with the one expert, the pharmacologist they wanted to have come in and testify about her long-term brain damage and the effects of drugs on this. And the judge just basically, I don't think he's an expert on this. The jury is still, the medical jury is still out on whether this is even a thing. This is I'm sure she's he actually said, I'm sure she's a great pharmacologist, but I don't know if she's an expert. Think about this overnight and let's talk about it in the morning.
But what's great about
that did two things. Yeah. One, it allowed the defense lawyer not to be crushed in open court, to have the judge rule that his expert is not really an expert. And it also, the judge made so he didn't have to give a ruling.
Well, and that's another brilliant move on the part of the judge, because he was hinting, tipping his hat that this is where he was thinking, answer this question for me, which goes to the credibility, goes to that witness testifying. So when you come back, I want you, Mr. Defense Attorney, to think about this issue. And then when he comes back, he goes back to look, he says, I cannot answer that question, right? And so he comes back and he withdraws that witness. So now the judge never ruled, so there's nothing to appeal.
Yep.
I mean, brilliant. Again, another master stroke, because that goes to knowledge of the law. That's smart. And the one thing, like, I don't know if I was on your stream when he was talking about the jury instructions, and he was going through the jury instructions, and the defense really stood up and said, this is an instruction I want. I want it this way. And yes, the standard instructions say X, Y, Z, right? But you know, X, Y, Z is what I want. And then the state opposed it, but he was like, I'm going to go ahead and give it. Because he did exactly the right call. I mean, I don't know everything that judge did. I have no quibbles. He got a 100 out of me. But you know, and the judge, we've watched that other judge in Tampa a couple times. He was also an excellent judge. He got an A also, but this judge is the best one I've seen. So that was surprising. I mean, it was nice to see good judging in action. And what's hard for me in this type of trial is to sort out the prosecutors, because are they just being trained by a great judge? Would they cheat if it wasn't a great judge, right? So it's hard to sort out how good these prosecutors were given that excellent judge who's maintaining control of this courtroom.
Can't disagree with a single thing there. I do need to, and this is the last damn time I'm saying a word about this. Captain Have Fun, you were not banned. You were placed briefly in timeout because I said I don't want to hear another damn word about why Steve didn't do this, why you think this, what you're used to, why this didn't happen. I don't want to hear another damn word about whatever happened between you and Steve. One more, and it will be blocked because we currently have 778 people here, and one guy is derailing chat. Not a single damn word. I put you in timeout for a brief period of time because you're saying, I'm used to getting this within, I'm used to having people call me before, not give me 2 hours notice. I don't know why he didn't call me. I don't give a shit why Steve didn't call you. Just not another damn word. If there's another damn word from Captain Have Fun about whatever happened before this stream or what he's used to, mods, ban him. That's it. That is not something I do lightly. We're not gonna have it here. And even if you are banned, it'll just be for today, and I will unban you later. But we're not going to derail chat any more than has already been derailed. All right, that's out of my system.
Okay, yes, I appreciate that, and it is distracting, and
it's distracting me.
I know,
and it's
I'm
distract.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's
not you.
You want me to leave because it's a drama?
Nope. It's
not me.
You're not the problem.
Okay.
It's derailing chat and it's distracting me, and that's
yeah.
Anyway, all right, we're done with it. Never going to say another word. Mods, do your thing. Right. Xcomer, Triple Z, new member. The Clean and Sober crew.
Cripples that XCOM. I know him. Yeah. He's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Can I pick up on somebody? Alpha Snork says, why didn't the defense send files to all the expert witnesses? Okay. And I will say that is a tricky defense strategy. Right? Because it's sort of like the grand jury process with the prosecutors. So if they feed the grand jury the stuff that only they want them to hear, they're going to come out with a conclusion they want. Well, if you're having trouble getting the experts to say what you want, feed them the records and the stuff that you don't want, that is helpful to your case, and say, don't look at these other records. Right now, that I've never done that. I don't know anybody in our office do it, but I suspect that's what happened here. Now, the prosecutors were good enough that they ripped them apart. I mean, that was well, you haven't reviewed the video, right? It's like, what kind of, you've watched and say, yes, I haven't reviewed, because she wasn't asked, because they want a conclusion. They want a conclusion, right?
Mm-hmm. And Bella Stella says, Jeff, you're Bay too. All right. Thank you, Bella.
Oh, see there, you trolled for that one a little bit.
I did.
But it worked. So Bella Stella, good job.
Lizbot says, your use of the word timbre makes me so happy. Well, thank you. Easy to please, I guess. I'm not sure why the use of the word timbre makes you happy, but I'm glad that I made you happy this evening or morning or whatever time it is. The Chuggy Show again. What are we doing in place of Maritime Monday? We're not doing anything in place of Maritime Monday. We're doing Maritime Monday for Maritime Monday. That's what we're doing. It's going to be a chill Maritime Monday stream too. We're gonna watch clips of people on boats doing really stupid things. It's gonna be a clip show. I still need to chill from this trial.
It was a lot. That was a lot on you, man. I don't know how I would kill me what you do. Doing this no sleep thing.
The only reason I did that was because it was 1 week, and I figured the first day would be no problem. The second two, and then when it came time down to the adrenaline would take over, and it kind of went according to plan. So
well, your constitution.
Yeah, and I did push it to the limit. So, and I can't do that. Let's see. Lily Smith. Damn, my son says he will not drive me 4.5 hours to see you. They took my license, so I'm screwed. Hopefully you'll get closer to Gainesville.
Oh, Gainesville, you're closer to me. Come on. Gainesville, Florida, home of the Gators. And Legal Mindset.
The Chuggy Show live again. Plot twist: murdered him because he wouldn't consent to everything she wanted to do. Got mad and killed him for it. Oh no, he brought out the choke collar. He put the choke collar on himself. Yeah, the choke collars were at his house. The dildo in a box. I don't think they brought that with them, so I'm assuming that was in the house too. Yeah, he put the choke collar on himself. Yeah. So he was down. He was down for the shabusiness. Lefty Lulls, root for the supervillains. If they're harmless supervillains, like Freddy Krueger, root for Freddy Krueger.
I don't know if she's somebody. Talking about shabusiness is not a supervillain I would root for. And remember that video with what was the one? It was the M. Night Shyamalan movie with the Mr. Glass and
Split. That whole series, those three movies. Yeah,
it was Bruce Willis.
Glass. Oh, yeah, in the original one.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. That was good. I thought it was good. I thought that was M. Shyamalan. He came out with a great movie, and it kept going on further.
Well, I mean those movies. That was a trilogy. Then a lot of people don't know that was a trilogy. So did anybody else know that? Or
I did not.
Literally nobody I've talked to knows that was a trilogy. And it's been so long, I can't remember what the name of the first movie was. It totally has nothing to do with it. Unbreakable.
That's it.
That was the first
pretty good movie, I thought. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was 2000, Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was Split in 2016 with James McAvoy. And then Unbreakable. Then Glass was Samuel Jackson's character's final part of the arc. So yeah, did you see Split and Glass?
No, I didn't see those. Were those as good?
Yeah. It's like the second and third part. James McAvoy plays a guy that has like 32 characters.
I like Bruce Willis.
Bruce. Well, see, I was watching. Bruce Willis is in it. And he's also in Glass. It's all their characters. Glass brings all the characters back together.
Okay.
So you need to see it. Bruce Willis is a huge part of Glass, and he has a bit part in Split.
Okay.
Because the Unbreakable movie, that was 2000, and of course everybody forgot about it by the time 2016 Split came around, and it's James McAvoy. He's criminally insane. He's got 22, 32, however many different personalities, and that's sort of his superpower. And then right at the end, sitting in a coffee shop, and I think there was a news story or something on the coffee shop TV about the story, and then it turns in like Bruce Willis is sipping a cup of coffee at the end, and then the last one, Glass, brings all the characters back together for like the final part of the arc. Yeah, so you need to watch those two. They're good movies.
Did you see something else we could talk about? Something else, the behind the scenes. I don't want to take away from the trial, but there was also, I don't know how you were kind of clued in on the drama between Mindset and your channel. That was freaking hilarious.
We were having fun.
That was so funny because there were so many people that were hungry for a trial to live stream. And so like everybody and their mother was streaming this trial. And so so mindset, I guess he's thinking I'm going to stream the trial, but then when he saw everybody else was doing it, he decided to just snipe everybody.
Well, it was kind of he didn't want to do it, and then he saw everybody was doing it, so he's like, okay, I need to do this. And I knew what he was going to do days before. Well, not days, but like a day before. I mean, we all knew.
You did.
We
I
all
didn't
knew
know it. It was funny because I was on your stream, and of course we're fellow Florida men, so he knows how to talk. He sweet talk me, and I had just got done talking to him. Like, I said, Vices, you're the man. I'm with you. I'm going to stay on your stream the whole time, right? So I'm like chatting with you, and you're like, oh, that's great. And then he starts sweet talking me from like from the outside, like luring me away,
Yeah.
and it was really kind of funny.
He had fun.
And so you were like, go over there, and I just had such a fun time jumping around,
but even more fun was some of the clip channels that were thinking that like he had real drama with me and Nick and Kurt, and they're like, listen to what he's saying. And he's calling like Nick a washed up, he's like 95% of his stuff is is just off the cuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's all jokes, people. We're all going to be hanging out together in Texas in about 10 days.
I'm missing Texas. I got so much coming up, man. This August is going to be so hard on me.
Well spoken on the judge rating, says Joseph Nash. Thank you so much.
100%.
Thank you both. You're very welcome.
And isn't it refreshing to see a good judge? I mean,
yes.
Oh my goodness.
And Porcelain Thunder says Legal Vice has lots of maritime news this week. 2 big disasters. I'm not sure which 2 big disasters you're talking about, but the news we might mention is there was another car ferry fire. I tell you, car ferry fires are a thing. There's been a lot of car ferry fires over the past year and a half. And there was another passenger ferry boat that overturned in the Philippines, killing dozens of people.
No, really?
Yeah. So those are the 2 big ones I know about. I don't know if there's 2 other ones that I missed. But those are the 2 big ones that I know about. And Carrie Crom says, both of you guys are awesome. Well, thank you. I would have to agree with that. Jeff, love your drink shorts. Steve, I have enjoyed all your books.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
There you go.
And I write them so that people can benefit from them and to help you if you need it. And, you take the wisdom from where you can find it. If it doesn't apply to you, then move on. If it does, then it fits, right? Can I ask you? Oh, you had a drink, and I didn't have my pen. It was a Filipino drink. What was that drink called?
Oh, it wasn't a Filipino drink. It was a drink that was it was made originally in by a monk in the Philippines. It was the
See, I challenged you. That was a good one. That the Filipino. I was like, I got to tell the wife about that because she's Filipino, and I forgot it. Immediately when you said it, I forgot it. And I couldn't find it again. I went back.
The Antrim cocktail. The Antrim, Antrim, Antrim. And again, this is a great book. Again, this is our midstream break here. It's The Gentleman's Companion, written by Charles H. Baker, who was he was sort of a real life Gatsby guy. He just spent his entire life touring the world, collecting recipes and drink recipes, like food recipes and drink recipes. And he wrote this Gentleman's Companion, the exotic cookery book and the exotic drinking book. And this is just a book of all of the recipes. Food, it's like broken up into food and drinks. And it tells stories about how he found each recipe. And the Antrim cocktail says, yeah.
So the Vice Squad, did they buy you this book, or is this something you brought in?
Oh no, I've had this for ages. This is a great book,
and it's called The Gentleman's Companion.
Yes, by Charles H. Baker. Because there's a bar named after him in Seoul called Charles H. at the Four Seasons Hotel that is the best bar I've ever been in on planet Earth. And they were at one time ranked, I think they got up to 42nd in the world. But yeah, they're great. The Antrim cocktail says one we found in the quaint little overseas club in Zamboanga on the island of Mindanao. Yeah, Mindanao in the year of grace 1931. Yeah, this guy he was like in the late 1800s, early 1900s in Mindanao in the year of grace 1931. The classic being invented by Monk Antrim in Manila 5 or 6 years before. It found its way down into Moro country, many hundreds of miles to the south. We'll bring more news of the monk later. Meanwhile, this is his own special origination, later blended for us using his own Chino Barmeister in Manila. Use 1 pony each of French cognac and port wine. Toss in half a teaspoon of sugar and shake, and that is really good. Cognac, it's like 1 part each of cognac and port wine with a little bit of sugar.
Oh boy! See this actually. See when you read it, that's what read the thing of the ingredients again. Oh, I'm gonna write this down because I have cognac and port wine right over here.
Yeah, it's like 1 ounce of each, or like 1 part of each. Too. Yeah, equal parts. Let's say equal parts cognac and port.
And what else was in it?
A teaspoon of sugar. And shake it up.
Well,
serve it in a glass.
Maybe we might be able to get that. Could be on the table tonight if you 1 teaspoon of sugar.
Well, that sounds like a good lunchtime cocktail for me.
Are you? What time is it there in
It's
Korea?
noon. We're just coming up on noon now.
It's a good lunchtime cocktail. See there? Okay. Well, again, it's up to you. I'm at your service today, and that's really cool. So that's called the Antrian cocktail. Antrian.
So, well, see, this isn't a grift stream, but you know, we'll if I don't know what do you want to do, Steve?
It's up to you. I'll drink with you, man. Just because you're my brother.
Well, I am gonna have to move because Strawberry just brought in a plastic bottle. We don't need to hear her munching on. All right, there we go.
Yeah, and I see buddy. There's the doggo right over here. There's the doggo cam. That's the Gosney doggo cam. It's just in the background. No special technique.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you know, Rose, you've got a great mod in Rose.
Oh, she's absolutely perfect.
She's great. She's very kind. And we had a little discussion today. And she says she read The Summer Friend, which was my new book I've just come out. So did you read it or did you just get it? That's the question. It's a pretty short read. It's a nice little vacation read, a novelette. So just seeing if Rose if she read it or not, because I always like to hear feedback on what people think about the writings.
Well, if we're gonna do a cocktail, we need to get it done. What's the level? Do we want to do? Like,
it's up to you.
I didn't even think about any sort of goals or stretch goals here. I was just kind of doing a chill stream.
Okay, well, let's just
maybe we should just do a chill. Maybe just have a chill cocktail.
How about a gift to the chats just because they're wonderful and the Vice Squad's awesome? We don't expect anything. We'll just give them a drink. Toast to them for sticking with Vices during the trial. How's that?
That sounds good to me. And then also it's time for we got so many things to do here. So what I want to do is to get through these last 3 super chats, and then we'll start the opening arguments, because I like to go through the opening arguments and see what they said and see if they delivered what they promised. Sort of rate the opening compared to what they did after that. And we're lucky that these were such short opening statements. We can do this. Yeah. Both of you guys are awesome. Jeff, see, I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's like both of you are awesome. The smart literary guy and the dude that drinks. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
But we bring each other. We get the best out of each other. So that's what it is. Utah,
McNeese State, and Charlotte. Hopefully the Gators don't choke on all of those.
No, I like messing with the Gators because Gator people think that they're really, they're really, the top dogs in Florida, right? And so they've always
think they're the top dogs everywhere.
Yeah, they think they're top dogs everywhere, and I don't have any dog in that fight. I'm just like to instigate between the this and the this, right?
John Byrne, thank you so much for the super chat. Release the emoji. We can't release it in the middle of the stream because then I have to go to Gmail to download it, and I have to put it in the folder, and then I have to do all this back. We'll release the brand new emojis tomorrow on Maritime Monday.
Okay.
The new emojis will be released. And Behandler Remington, thank you both for the insight during the trial. Thank you for being there for the vast majority of it. Thank you, Chandler. Hashtag Law Daddies. All right. Well, Steve,
he's the next generation. Well, I'm going to go fix this. So
all right.
You do what you got to do, and then I will switch off. How's that?
That sounds like a plan.
All right. Hold on. Let me get my.
And Jason J asked, legal advices, what was the most shocking thing of the case that actually shocked me? The part of the case that actually shocked me, and I mentioned it before, was the medical examiner when he brought up the diagram of all of the injuries, well, not even all of the injuries, all of the injuries that he recorded that he had suffered. That was a terrible diagram. That was actually shocking. I mean, in my head, you're just kind of thinking that, okay, you know, she chopped off his feet, chopped off his legs, you know, chopped off his arms, chopped off his head. He's kind of process it and think, you know, clearly. But when you see the diagram and it's just all these black lines all over the bodies and the entire back section is peeled off. And then when he said that he had to do a separate diagram sheet because there were so many injuries to the head that it required a separate diagram. That was the pretty much, I mean, dare I say his entire testimony. Like, yeah, let's go. Brandon just mentioned, I said, putting the foot in the chest cavity. Yeah, that was the whole medical examiner thing, but in particular, the diagrams. That was shocking to me. Just shocking. Right. I can't believe you could do that with a bread knife. Well, a bread knife, especially if it's a good quality bread knife, is essentially just, it's like a hacksaw. It's basically what it is. So it's, you know, it's more like a rip saw, I guess, than a hacksaw, because hacksaws has tiny fine blades. It's more like a rip saw. So I'm not too surprised. Oh well, yeah. Garrett says her sucking dick while dismembering him, that was a shocker. It was a shocker, but weirdly not unexpected. I mean, it was like that. It was shocking yet not surprising. Just if that makes any sense. Kind of, all right. That's add another thing to the list. I couldn't believe the slicing and dicing she did with kitchen knives. Well, it took her 6 of them. So, you know. Is this stream sponsored by a Korean knife company? Korean knives are actually kind of suck. Korean knives they're just meant to be industrial, not meant to be precision instruments. You want some great knives. Japanese shun knives. I mean, you're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for a knife, but you do not compare with shun knives from Japan. They are absolutely amazing. Are you back, Steve? You've given the orders.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Is this an appropriate glass?
Sure.
Okay. And I'll just introduce. I want to make sure I have my ingredients here.
But what I would do you have a martini glass handy? Because that would be even more appropriate.
I do. Would that be better?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I know you have them for your sidecars.
Cognac.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Taylor Flaggate 20-year-old tawny port.
Wow, you're going for the 20-year.
This is the good stuff.
I've only had the 10-year version of that. They don't have the 20-year here. They have the 10 and the 30. And I'm not going to spend $250 for a bottle of port wine.
You see, this is but we're celebrating a great stream. That is some special stuff right there. Yeah. If anybody wants to try a great port, this is the best port. I'm telling you, nothing competes with this. So there's two of this. Okay, yeah. I want to get the martini glass.
Start talking, Steve. I've got a phone call coming in, and I don't know who it is. I think it's my car guy.
See there, and you didn't even have to. This is a bonus for the chat and for the people who've watched, bringing out the good stuff for the Vice Squad. That's right. And Brandon isn't having to pay lots of money this time. We're just having a good time. We're celebrating a successful trial stream and watching. So what do y'all think? So Rose saw my, oh, you there? You're boomerang. You're muted.
I've got an issue. I've got to run down to my car. I might be gone like 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm okay. I got it handled if you want.
Let's do the, if you don't mind. Let's defer this for about 10 minutes. Let me just kind of put on the opening statements.
Okay, do that
and deal with it and talk. All right. Yeah. Hang on. I'll be
you
right
wanted to
back.
do that anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah. So let's do that, and I will be right back as soon as possible. And then I might explain why I'm going to jail for murdering someone. All right. I was let's see. Present video screen watch live. All right. These are the opening statements, and I hopefully I'll be back before they finish. Here we go. See you guys in just a minute. Let me boost the volume for y'all. Good morning. I hadn't figured it out by then.
The evidence in this case will show that in the early morning of February 22nd of 2022, defendant strangled Chad. After he was dead, engaged in sexual acts with him, his body, subsequently dismembered him using kitchen knives found in the home. Over the next few days, in the first phase of trial, the state of Wisconsin, myself, District Attorney Lassay, will present a number of witnesses who will testify about what happened in this case. And that'll show and demonstrate to you that the defendant committed these acts. You'll hear testimony and evidence will show that in the early morning of February 23rd, a Tuesday, kind of a normal cold February in Wisconsin, at a house on Thornburg Lane, area outside of Green Bay, Fireman's Park, West Mason Street, that area. Tara Packnage is kind of in her home and is awoken by a storm door shut. A door that's sort of above the driveway to the residence, normal single-family home in the area. Hears a storm door close and is awoken from sleep. It's early morning, 2:30, 3 a.m., somewhere in there. She goes and gets up. It kind of wakes her up, and she's aware at that point that her son, Shad, was in the basement with a friend, Taylor. They had been over the day before, February 22nd, February 21st, in that time frame. And she kind of goes and sees what's going on, right? We hear this noise late in the night, early in the morning, and she sees the basement lights on. At that point, she's aware that, they were down there throughout the day of the 22nd, and she goes down and sees the lights on in the basement, and she sees what's going on. And you'll see sort of the scene, sort of go down the stairs to a normal basement. It's partially finished on one half, partially like a utility area, laundry, that kind of storage area. And right next to the stairs, there's a 5-gallon bucket that you'd get at a home center. And she lifts a towel that's covering the bucket. It's a beach towel. And unfortunately, sees essentially a mother's worst nightmare. That her son's head is in the bucket. Understandably, you'll hear testimony about that and the shock that caused. Tara goes and talks to her boyfriend who lives in the home, Steve. You'll hear from him. He goes and checks too, and ultimately they call 911. And that's how this case comes to be. You'll hear from the officers this morning, likely, who arrived on scene and what they observed, obviously confirming the information that was reported to law enforcement about Shad's circumstances, how they find the bucket, and it has parts of Shad as well as knives. You'll hear about, at that point, a relative lack of other indicia of a crime occurred. It's not a significant amount of blood on the walls and on the floor. There's some, you'll hear about that, but it takes law enforcement time to see what actually happened, the full extent of what the defendant did in this case. By that point, they're actually interviewing the defendant, and she's providing them information that, no, Shad's still in the basement. The rest of him is still in the basement. And ultimately, you'll hear about what officers find in that basement. There's, as I mentioned, the living area has some mattresses, blood-soaked. Once you remove the blankets, other clothing items. There's a tote, a teal tote, kind of a larger Tupperware that has knives as well as body parts of Shad. There's bags, a sort of duffel bag type item, a backpack, all of which contain parts of Shad's body, as well as knives that were used in the dismemberment. And you'll hear all about that. The officers who responded on scene and processed the evidence, ultimately locating the parts of Shad. You'll hear about then other things that are found. Signs of methamphetamine use, which the defendant later acknowledges happened with her and Shad right before this crime occurred. Cleaning products. As I mentioned, you may have an idea in your head of this crime and what that looks like and what law enforcement would encounter when they got there, and you'll see what actually encountered. You'll hear about Clorox wipes and how the defendant would go to the shower and sort of clean up and use a squeegee and clean up the scene. You'll hear about the medical examiner and their team who arrive and are dealing with the situation, and it's determined that not all of Shad is located in the basement. There's certain parts that are missing, and ultimately in the van that the defendant is driving, gold minivan, there's additional legs of Shad found in that van. You'll hear from Dr. Vincent Tranquita. He's our medical examiner at the time, and he will testify about cause and manner of death. And you'll hear about the cause being strangulation. Significant force applied to the neck, significant signs of strangulation that you'll hear about, and then ultimately, obviously, a significant amount of dismemberment after the fact. You'll hear Dr. Tranquita talk about that. That's all happening at Stony Brook. 23rd, throughout that day, you'll hear about significant investigation that goes on at that house. And then you'll hear about then, a few hours after that initial 911 call, how law enforcement kind of gets word that, Shad was with the defendant, Ms. Schabusines, before this offense, and that they locate her at her apartment on Eastman Avenue, sort of on the other side of Green Bay, east side. Encountered as she's leaving the apartment that she shares with another person, and you'll see that encounter, how the defendant is essentially literally caught red-handed, blood on her hands. There's a significant knife wound that she talks about later was suffered in the course of the crimes. There's blood on her clothing. There's black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and she talks with law enforcement for a pretty significant amount of time. Detective David Groff, who's seated at counsel table here, interviews the defendant along with another detective, and they start to learn more about what happened in this case and sort of the hours leading up to the crimes. Again, it's a significant and lengthy interview, and the defendant's providing information that you'll see jives with what law enforcement's encountering in that basement. She admits to, as I mentioned, methamphetamine use before this. She and Shad were sort of hanging out beforehand. They were friends from school back in the day, and it seems like they were in a friendly state at the time of this offense. And you'll hear then they go to the Stony Brook Lane home and go to the basement. They're let in by Steve. You'll hear about that in the early morning of the 22nd. You'll hear the defendant describe that what apparently begins as a somewhat sexual encounter escalates to a dog collar being placed around Shad's neck. And the defendant quite vividly describes what she then did. She's yanking on the chain. She's describing what's happening to Shad. It's evidence that you'll hear, and you'll hear it from the defendant's own mouth, that shows that this is an intentional act. It's not one pull of a gun trigger. It's an intense act. You'll hear about that from Vincent Tranquita, Dr. Tranquita as well. She's pulling harder, just hoping that he eventually passes, and it takes a significant amount of time. It takes several minutes. So you'll hear her say. After that, after Shad's deceased, she describes what she then does with his body, again, engaging in sexual acts, ultimately dismembering him quite significantly. She reports that afterwards, that law enforcement would have fun finding all the body parts that are located throughout the basement, told law enforcement where to find certain body parts. Like I said, it wasn't obvious to law enforcement who initially respond to that basement what happened. It's information being provided by the defendant that later is corroborated by law enforcement. You'll hear the defendant admit to cleaning up, avoiding guilt, avoiding responsibility for this. You'll hear her talk about that. You'll see the signs of that, as I mentioned earlier. That dismemberment process takes that entire day of the 22nd, essentially. As I mentioned, Tara wakes up to Taylor leaving at about 2:33 a.m. on the 23rd. The investigation doesn't stop there, despite the defendant's confessions. Law enforcement continues. They send DNA to the lab, and it confirms the accounts that we're getting here. Blood on the defendant's hands, left and right hands, or Shad's. Blood on the knives, some of the knives that are used is Shad's. The clothing item, as I mentioned, the black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, has red substances, blood on the sweatpants, all consistent with what happened, with the defendant's statements, with what law enforcement's seeing. So this case is really not a whodunit. You'll hear about the crimes that clearly occurred. You'll hear the defendant's statement saying, yep, I did it. And you have DNA evidence and other investigative tools that kind of corroborate everything else. So for this, the defendant's charged with the three crimes that the judge read off earlier. First-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, dismembering the corpse, and then third-degree sexual assault. So we'll get into what that all means later. We'll have closing arguments where we kind of provide summation and provide all that to you. But for now, as you kind of listen to the evidence, count one, the state needs to prove that the defendant caused the death of Shad and that she did so intentionally. As I mentioned, you're going to hear a lot about that. And it's nothing but intentional. This is not an accident. This is not a mistake. It's a significant act the defendant did. Dismembering a corpse for the purpose of concealing a crime, you'll hear a lot about that. And third-degree sexual assault, how she engaged in oral contact with Shad's body and inserted objects in his body as well after the fact. I know in voir dire, some of you talked about, you've heard some about this case, and that's to be expected potentially. It's really important to stress that our system of justice is not based on media accounts, on word of mouth, on what you hear. The evidence is what happens in these four walls, what you hear and see. And ultimately, the evidence in this case will point to one area. The defendant is guilty of these three crimes. So again, this is just meant to be an overview on the evidence we expect you to hear over the next few days in the first phase. But ultimately, the case comes down to choices and responsibility. The defendant made a series of choices, February 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Choices to use methamphetamine, choices to kill her friend, Shad, choices to then utterly degrade him after the fact. The choices the defendant made. And when we come back in closing arguments later this week at some point, we'll argue to you that the evidence in this case is clear. The choices the defendant made indicate that you're not going to have a reasonable doubt about what the defendant did, that she's guilty of all three crimes. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Sam, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Your Honor, may it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Lassay, Mr. Saunders. Thank you for your service as jurors. We definitely appreciate you being here, serving on the jury, because a jury is an integral part of the court process. Without you jurors, our court system simply couldn't function. The lawyers couldn't do their job, and the court couldn't do its job. So we appreciate your time, your attention to detail, and your anticipated focus over the next several days that you're going to put into this very serious case. Now, in this case, the state of Wisconsin, through the Brown County District Attorney's Office, has the complete burden of proof. The state must prove to all of you jurors beyond a reasonable doubt each and every element of the crimes charged beyond a reasonable doubt. The United States Constitution presumes that every person who is accused of a crime is presumed to be innocent. And in this case, Taylor.
Okay, hang on here.
Innocent.
Where am I? Hi guys, I'm back. How you doing, Steve?
All is well. I'm just giving him the full Jackson
Well,
interlude here. He got 3
Yeah.
treats just for being cute. And he
all
doesn't
right.
do anything but be cute. And I figured I'd give him the full doggo camp. So
Well, it looks like I missed the entire prosecution's opening statement.
that's okay. It was pretty short and to the point. But
I
yes,
know, that
this is
was-
the Gosney dog cam. This is Jackson. My difficult dog, but he's actually on his best behavior because he lives for treats. And when he's getting treats, he'll do anything. So he's part Ewok.
I said, Jeff, you're too loud. I haven't touched anything since I left. This
Well, I'm going to go get would a sugar rim be too much to ask on a,
hey, you wouldn't want to do that.
no sugar rim?
No,
Okay. Hold on one second. I'll
just some simple syrup or just sugar to shake up. It needs to be shaken. So I'm too loud. I'm like literally exactly where it was, and I haven't. It's better now. I haven't touched anything. Weird. All right. I've got to separate parts of my brain here. I've got to separate parts of my brain. My car cleaner, the service.
So
I'm raging inside, and I've got to block off the rage at the car carrier people. But I'm blocking them off so that it doesn't derail the stream.
It's okay. And see, I'm not contributing. We were talking earlier about maybe you should cut back on the drinking, and here I am encouraging it. Right?
Only on the F at Friday stream. We've reached a good point on the F at Friday
Critical
stream.
mass. But this is the typical call of the drinker. 1 never hurt anybody. So we'll do 1, and this is good. This is the good stuff. People, you guys gotta. If you haven't tried this, if you like port wine, this is the best port wine.
I'm doing 1.5 ounces of each because I only have 1.5 ounces of cognac.
I'm gonna eyeball it.
1.5 ounces of cognac, 1.5 ounces of port wine,
and cognac.
I've already got the simple syrup in the shaker.
Okay, I don't have simple. She said sugar. I can sugarize it, right?
Yeah, sugar, syrup, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try that. This is a.
Pop the lid on. Give it a good shake.
I don't have the shaker. You're sophisticated.
Pop that off and strain it into the oldie cocktail glass. The Antrim cocktail, made in the Philippines
This
in
is see, that's why you
1931.
try this. This is very good because if it's a good one, this will maybe be a sub. I don't know. I'm just giving it a shot. And it has 2 ingredients that I like. So, along with sugar, which I also like.
Hi, Jessica. We see you.
Is Jessica here?
Jessica Reloaded. Yeah,
Yes. Hi, Jessica.
we see you.
Yeah, it didn't go very last time I started drinking with Vices. Yeah, especially offloading the whole decision-making process to Vices. That was funny. But that was because of Brandon and Ozzy and you and everything. We got Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog fully funded. So here we go. I got it.
Okay, well,
Should we
cheers,
say
chat. This is chat to you. Cheers to you for sticking with us during the Taylor Schabusiness trial, for keeping us entertained as chat always does, for being the troopers, for all the love and support you've shown not only through the Schabusiness trial, but everywhere else as well. And the 662 of you that are here right now, cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good.
Not bad.
It is.
Not bad.
See why a sugar rim wouldn't work with that? It's already really
Yes.
sweet.
Yes, you're right. No, you're right. That was a good call.
Yeah.
Of course, I put some sugar. I put some good sugar in there, but it's better without the sugar rim. I agree. Now, maybe I should chill the glass.
I didn't have time, so
We didn't have time, nor was this one chilled. So, but this is good. Thank you. God bless you, man. And let's hope for a better tomorrow, right?
yes, and we do have two. Well, we have four, but actually three super chats. Hempland, Texas, $10 with the complex mixture of DNA. Yeah, but then she resent it. I'm not sure if it was an accidental resend or what, but we got two. But the difference being DNA is capitalized in the second one. Complex mixture.
And there's a little green army man there.
Well, we got the green guy throwing up in both of them. But
Psychotic doll says, Gosney will figure out a way to gay up the drink.
And okay, we did this one, the most shocking moment. That was the medical examiner's testimony in general, but in specific, his diagrams were pretty horrific. And just for giggles, Rachel Herbert says, 한국어로 전화 받았어요. 신기해. 한국어 잘 하는 것 같아요. Yeah,
I love it, man.
of course.
I love it when you talk Korean to me.
Yeah. So anyway, right. So I missed the whole, and I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to make everybody go back and watch it again. Tell me, what were the main points that the prosecutor said he was going to show and prove during the course of the phase one?
Well, the thing is this. Here I'm Gosney grifting, right? But I've written an article on this about how to do a proper trial as a prosecutor. All right. And there's a form, it's a formula. It's a paint by numbers formula that is there, it's ideas and answers in law. So I have a critical chapter in there about improper closing arguments done by prosecutors. All right. But because it has answers in that, because it's answers, I want to provide a blueprint for the prosecutor to do it correctly. And this prosecutor, this team, presented the case exactly how I recommended in the book. And so it's very hard for me to criticize anything because they were. However, I would say that it was rather workmanlike, right? It was workmanlike. Yeah. And so it was a paint by numbers kind of present it by the book and put it in.
And what did he say he was going to do? That's what I like to say. Like this, they think this is what we're going to show you. And then we sort of look at, did he actually do that?
Yes, they delivered. You laid out a framework for the case, a guidelines, what exactly happened. You anticipate, you tell the story about what it was. Now, I would also do a little bit of criticism. I gave the prosecution team on my grading a 97. And part of it was I don't think it was really as tightly themed as it could have been. You know what I mean by theming? And it was, and because of that, the story wasn't as tight. It wasn't as tight. So it could have been better, but that's such a nitpick. It's such a nitpick because it was by the book. It was fair. They weren't playing emotional games. They weren't doing so. So 97 for the prosecution team. Here's Gosney, the public defender, critic of prosecutors far and wide, giving this prosecution team a 97. The only prosecutors that I gave a better score to was the Darrell Brooks team. Because the Darrell Brooks team did it perfect. They had great theming. They had great illustrations. It's a complex case. They in the face of a ridiculous defendant, they played fair. So I'm missing the point. What was the question? Did I miss the question?
The question is, what did the prosecutor say he was going to show during the course of phase one? And did he do that?
I didn't think there was going to be math.
So what were the promises? Because they always make the promises. The evidence is going to show this, or we're going to show this. What were the points that he said that they would do, and did he actually do it?
yes, they said that they would, prove that she committed first-degree murder by going down and killing him and then chopping him up, and that they're going to present the evidence. I mean, it was really by the book, and they did deliver. I mean, there was
They
it's
showed
easy.
it.
It's easy, here's what we're going to show, here's what the story
Yeah.
is, and the evidence delivered that. I mean, it's easy to be a prosecutor because the cops do all the work for you.
But a lot of times though, you'll get the prosecutors will say, gravely, and the evidence is going to show all of this detail, and every livable surface other than the missing carpet was covered in blood, and then the evidence just shows a few spats on the wall and a little bit on the floor, and those kind of things.
I was pleased with the fact that they didn't go for that extra drama. They kept it toned down, and that is. It gives the demeanor and the decorum of the courtroom the respect by playing it. Now, I would also say that the defense played it way down. This is an interesting insight, or I don't know, maybe it's an insight, maybe it's just me imagining things. But I think if there was ever the possibility of a not guilty or by reason of insanity or some sort of, lesser that the defense could hope for, it would not come from an appeal to emotion. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in this, defense attorney was very subdued and very cold and emotionless. And so he was like, follow the law. And that would appeal if you've got a theory here that could be bought into. They're not going to buy into your theory if they're all enraged with passion. Right. So you want to keep the temperatures cool. So when you say your job is to follow the law, even if you don't like the outcome, let's be rational. Let's be cool. So the defense attorney also played it cool, which was, I think, the right strategic choice. And the prosecutor could have gotten up there and really been flamboyantly emotional and really gotten like, this is the world, they could have done that, but they didn't. They played it logically and cool because the facts and the law were on their side and they could do that. So I liked the demeanor. I think it could have been better themed. It could have been a little bit more passion. Theming, I think, was a problem on both sides, especially. But when you got such a strong case, you don't really need to stream. You don't need to. I mean, you don't need to theme. But anyways, did I answer the question that time?
Mostly. Well, now we're going to look at the defense opening and see what they say and whether they did what they say they were going to. Because, like I say, the prosecution tends to overpromise things. They get that in the, we're going to show all of this, and then the jury's like, oh wow, okay. And I think juries sometimes forget that they weren't shown what the prosecutor said they were going to do. But again, this one, from what I recall, was he said we're just going to show this, and they showed it. There was no exaggerations, no dishonesty or deceit that I could recall. Before we do that, we do have the Lefty Lulls. Gosney, can I pay you to scold me on stream like a racket's fat shame? When's your next stream?
I'm not going
That's
to be
weird
streaming for a while. I hate to say it. I mean, I always promise this, but this is a hobby, and I stream when I have something to say. And it's a hobby. I'm going to be at the Ginger concert Wednesday and Thursday. I'm out of town. I've still got this death case. People don't realize what's involved in that. It's 2 months of more work I've got to do in that. And I'm prepping for American law courses and Colorado and the death penalty conference in August. So you might see a little bit of diminishment of output from the Gosney here. And I'm really, this Schabusines trial kind of came right in a sweet spot of when I had some time. So that was wonderful. And I think that it was perfect. I mean, this really played, and that's kind of, I don't know if you answered my question, Mr. Vices.
What was your question?
Well, you had really built this up, and you had put a lot of energy into promoting this trial.
Yeah.
And were you happy with it? And what could you have done better? What do you think went well? And how did you feel it came out? What are your impressions now looking back and reflecting on this?
Wow. I mean, I don't want to over toot my horn, but I think everything went perfectly well for me. And I think I did a pretty darn good job, and it worked out very well. I don't know what I would change. It was well done. Things went just as well as I could imagine. I don't. Maybe everybody else thinks I sucked. I don't know. But
no, actually,
happy with myself.
Was it that was rating the streams? It was Mindset. Yeah, mindset, because he was sniping everybody. He was having fun, right? And his mindset says that you were the best streamer of all the streamers. You were
What?
yours coverage was the best. They said, especially when you had guests on. Of course.
Yeah, which means when I wasn't talking and I was letting other smarter people talk.
Well, but you do have a touch for bringing in good talent. A lot of my buddies, a lot of my chat comes from yours. Like the Vice Squad kind of transfers over, and you introduced me to Chandler, who's a superstar, and a lot of the people that are on your streams I got to meet, and so definitely you have a good way of bringing in talent and pushing talent, right?
Thank you.
But the stream sniping was fun. It was, that was funny. And Mindset's like, he's a hoot. That guy, I like Mindset. He's a fellow Florida man, what can I say? He's got my number.
And we was just putting the final adjustments here. Give me a second. Right.
Oh, and Rose, did you read the Summer Friend? I wonder, because I wasn't watching and I didn't get the answer.
And I am ready from my end to all right. Well, I disconnected that, didn't I? All right, never mind. Well, I disconnected my stream deck, so I can't do the release the hounds audio. So we just have to release the hounds.
Do you have a release the hounds? Is there a release the hounds?
I do. It's from The Simpsons.
Yeah. So look at that, boy.
There we go.
See, my doggo cam is just him in the background. Hey, look, they're about the same color. I didn't think about that. But your dog would kill my dog. He is such. But the thing is, my dog thinks he's like king of the hills. He goes out and there's these big dogs around the town. He gets up and bully. He pushes them around. He's got an attitude. This one, you don't know what kind of dog this is. See, people, my difficult dog over here, he's cute. You see, that. Absolutely. He crushes the cuteness scale. Absolutely. I agree. But that's how he gets you. That's what happens. You see, that's what's going on here. Don't you see? He's difficult. So he's sleeping now. He's just doing that for you, for your benefit. You don't know what kind of dog he is. We're going to auction him off. Maybe we'll auction him off when I push that book. I've got that book coming up, and you can buy Jackson in exchange for a book. He's an adoptee. Actually, we think that he was abandoned by a retired couple because he really begs for food and he gets up on the table. He ate my wife's dinner tonight. My wife brought her plate and she put it down on the table and she went back to get herself some water and he jumped up on the table and ate her whole dinner.
Wow. That's why I'm glad my dogs can't jump.
That's true. They're kind of laid it down.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's Gun Club says, Lorax, it's a shame you couldn't get Tack Right Chainsaw to sponsor your coverage of the trial. I know that. I thought about that several times during the trial. Like, if only she would have had the Tack Right Chainsaw, it would have been much more efficient. But then again, the people upstairs would have heard too, so that's a problem.
This is funny. Elsie Merritt says, have you ever loved something so much that you wanted to kill it? That was bizarre, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, had we seen her statement to police before the trial?
Yeah, we did 2 entire streams on the criminal complaint.
That was the first time I'd seen it, and that was nuts. I was like, what? I mean, some of the stuff that she said was just...
Well, yeah, See, everybody points out, she blacked out. Yeah, but she also came back when he was still alive when she came out of her blackout. That's what she said. I blacked out, but then when I came to... I just decided to, I figured I'd gone this far. I may as well just continue. That was right before she said, if you love something so much, you killed it. Right. Well, let's look at the defense opening. I know we just started. I went back in time.
We were in the middle of that. So it's interesting now that we'd seen the evidence.
Yeah, that's why I like to go back and do it.
It's an interesting case. I mean, no doubt. It's so unusual that the actions of this woman, I mean, it's got to be the effects of drugs on the brain.
See, people we're talking, either she's insane or was it the drugs? There's just the bad seed argument too. She just might be one of those bad seeds that just kind of, isn't insane, but ain't normal.
Yeah, well,
That's a legal term.
and something that one of the experts at the state said was she was kind of quibbling about the effects of long-term drug use and heavy drug use on the brain.
Yeah.
I've dealt with enough defendants that there is definitely permanent brain damage that can be induced by drug use.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised when they quibbled on that. You remember that part?
Yeah. Well, the judge was looking at the science behind it. That's why he's saying like the medical jury is still out, whether that's actually a thing or not. But yeah, well, it's all water under the bridge now. McCrae H says, "Can't believe you didn't take the week off to stream this. Super dedication." Oh yeah. Hey boss, I'm gonna take a week off to do something that has nothing to do with the job you're paying me for. No. All right, let's get on with this here. All righty, where's the stream so I can push play?
I must say, I really like this drink.
It's good because it's really, and so you use the tawny port too, like me, instead of just a regular port, and so it gives it that extra sweetness.
Does anybody know what this is? This stuff is just gold.
Well, you recommended the 10-year, and I really like the 10-year.
The 10-year is excellent. This is I like 20, but it's not worth the doubling of price. Okay. The doubling of price is not, I'm not that sophisticated a drinker that I can actually tell the difference between 10 and 20. However, I will say that I can tell the difference and I prefer the 20, but it's not worth double the price.
The 10-year here costs about $60 a bottle. They don't have the 20. They have the 30-year, which is about $250 a bottle, and I ain't paying that.
This is 85. This is 85.
Yeah, okay. So that'd be about 150 if it was here. All right. Yeah, and I'm not paying that for a bottle of wine. That's just me. All right, let's go back in time here. Let's Huey Lewis in the news, back in time. And
yes, Sam, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
I went back. There was only
Your Honor, may it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Lassay, Mr. Saunders.
The most formulaic opening ever.
As jurors, we definitely appreciate you being here, serving on the jury, because a jury is an integral part of the court process. Without you jurors, our court system simply couldn't function. The lawyers couldn't. Okay,
I will say that his laid back kind of don't give an F appearance, that seems to be his style now that we go back. Because this is where he should at least be engaging with the jury on a friendly level. And it's still just that really, hey, I'm here, and this is I'm glad you're all here and doing your thing, and you're a big jury, and jury's an important part to everything, and you're going to be a part of this trial. And I guess this is just his demeanor. This is just the way he is, I think. Just, milquetoast.
Well,
doesn't mean he's bad.
It's also formulaic, but you always have the go-to defense, which is the state can't prove it, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking about strictly his demeanor and his attitude and his presentation. I think this is just who he is.
But everybody, all the defense lawyers have all picked up on the proper path, and he did not pick that path. Now, I really have to make the point again that it's not clear to me that she would ever have allowed him to go for a lesser. And it's up to her. If she does not wish to concede the lesser, he cannot argue that. So that is a call that she makes. So, don't hold that against the attorney, because we don't know that fact, right?
Yeah, we're not even to that part yet. We're just looking strictly at his delivery and his presentation. We were critical of that. It's like he didn't care, he'd given up, but he started out this way. This is when he should be engaging the jury. This is when he should be connecting with them. And he's got the same monotone tone of voice that he used at the end. So I think that's just who he is. This is just his presentation style. And I think if he tried to come and go, "Hi, I'm defense guy, and you're jurors, and you guys are really important," it would have come across as disingenuous. So I think he's just being real here. So I think we kind of have to, his attitude was dull and he beaten down. I think we have to take that off the table, because that's how he started. when he should be at his most dynamic right now. So I think that's just who he is. What do you think, Steve? This is just his demeanor? I think
It could be. I think it is. I also, but I will say the one thing. I really do not feel that his heart was in it, and and that comes across and I could have made the argument that we talked about earlier, and I could have put my heart into it, but he wasn't. He was not passionate, and it's hard. It's just such a hard job, and it might be this is his regular demeanor, but if that's the case, he really shouldn't be doing defense work because you have to believe what you're saying. And the juries really pick up on this type of thing. That's very important to believe in what you're saying. And he never lied to the jury. I don't think he ever said anything as a lie. But he also didn't believe what he was saying. Does that make sense? Is that sort of, can I say those things in the same sentence? It's a delicate. This is an art. It's not easy doing what he's doing. So I give him a lot. It's because we have a public defenders and we have tough cases that I have a little bit of compassion for where this man is. And I think he's a competent lawyer. He was objecting right. He knew the law. He knew what he was doing. He knew where to push. But the lack of theming, the lack of belief, the lack of passion, it is what it is.
The lack of passion, as we can see here, is who he is. It's just who he is. Because they said this is the part where he should be pulling the jury in. This is where he should be drawing their attention. And he's exactly the same way as he was during closing arguments for both phases. This is just who he is. And he has to deal with it. So let's continue.
Couldn't do their job, and the court couldn't do its job. So we appreciate.
Because I mean, you can do the look, jury. You are the most important part of this trial. Without you applying the facts to the law, we could not do this. The judge couldn't do what he doesn't do. What he does, you couldn't do what you do. We couldn't do what we do. But he's like, hey, you're the most important part of the trial, and the judge couldn't do what he does without you. And it's just who he is. You just got to take him as he is. And so there's different ways of doing it, and this is just who he is.
Do you want a completely
You're doing law stuff?
Yeah. Here, wait. Well, with alcohol. Here, you know Jeff of Legal Vices, right?
Hello.
So
yeah, we met once or twice, Steve.
Steve. He just got back from a concert.
Steve, what's up?
What's the name of the concert?
Joey.
What do you think?
I don't know. It was rough. That was the worst venue I've been to ever by far. They had no AC.
Oh.
Yeah.
How was the band and the music?
Well, I'll give it also it wasn't just the AC. I mean,
how was the band? He's wearing a Primus shirt to somebody else's concert. That's how the band was awesome.
What?
The band was awesome. He'd be wearing a Joey shirt. He wore a Primus shirt and he came home with a Primus shirt.
They didn't
even have merch.
The UPS screwed up the delivery or something. So there was no merch, no AC. I mean, barely any water. They had to throw waters into the audience as people were passing out. The audio was too quiet the entire show, and it cut out for like 10 minutes once. And then the guy was just like dapping people up in the audience. So yeah.
Have you ever heard of Joey?
No, he's whatever.
What kind of band is it? What kind of band is Joey?
It's a post-ironic trap music.
Post-ironic trap music.
The crowd was really.
I understood all of those words, but I don't know what they mean.
I know. I don't either. These kids in there.
The crowd was cool. Basically everybody was under 25.
Okay. This is the new kids and the new music they listen to. Anyway, how was that for a little chat interlude?
All right.
Completely off topic, but there you go. There's my son. Welcome to the Gosney household.
As long as we're off topic, I can't believe you didn't take this week. We already did that one. Thank you, McCray H. Support your local channel, says Alice Martinez. Thank you so much, Alice Martinez. You rock. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Stogles and Boomsticks. Thanks for the. Oh, wait. We cannot pass up this opportunity. We got to do this thing. I got to re-wrap my brain around things. Give me one quick second to. See, you caught me off guard. I should have pre-read this chat so I could be locked and loaded when it was time to go. Stogies and Boomsticks.
That's right. Shop smart. Shop S-Mart. You got that?
Speaking of boomsticks, Stogies and boomsticks, thanks for the coverage, Jeff. Listened while at work, made my day go faster. You demand. Thank you so much for that. Deeply, deeply appreciated. And I wish I would have read that so I would have had the boomstick ready to go at the appropriate time. But hey, you know, I'm only human after all, as one of the 80s bands saying, "You're only human." Lily Smith, thank you so much for the super chat. One of you needs to tell me what kind of liquor store for wine like that. Any liquor store should have a tawny port or a port wine itself. Tawny port. I like tawny port because it's sweet.
Well, I actually go to Total Wine, and I know that's just sort of like, you know, average, but they have it there. It's Taylor Flaglate 20-year-old tawny port. And I'll tell you, you know, if I sell a couple Summer Friends tonight, I'll do a second one just for Jeff.
Just for me. So yeah, so just go to any liquor store and look for the port wine or tawny port. Port wine is going to be dark red, and it's fortified with it's going to be about 20%. So it's a little stronger than your average wine. Tawny port is going to be sweeter and more brownish in color. That's why I like tawny port, because it tastes like raisins. It tastes like liquid raisins in a glass. I love it. But it has more calories. But I don't give a shit. All right, so let's get back to him here.
Appreciate your time, your attention to detail, and your anticipated focus over the next several days that you're going to put into this very serious case. Now, in this case, the state of Wisconsin, Brown County District Attorney's Office has the complete burden of proof. The state must prove to all of you jurors beyond a reasonable doubt each and every element of the crimes charged beyond a reasonable doubt. The United States Constitution presumes that every person who is accused of a crime is presumed to be innocent. And in this case, Taylor Schabusines is presumed to be innocent.
Factual, accurate, dry as day-old toast, but accurate. Any disagreement, Steve?
I'm just here.
She doesn't have to prove anything. The defense does not have to prove anything in this case. Why? Because the complete burden of proof rests with the district attorney's office, with the state of Wisconsin.
Oh,
they have to prove up all the facts.
What a face.
And in this case, you're going to hear a lot of different facts. You're going to hear a lot of different accounts from witnesses, citizen witnesses, detectives, police officers, experts, DNA analysts, medical examiners, all of that. You're going to have to take all of that information into consideration when you deliberate.
He was kind of helping the prosecution there in his opening statement. He didn't mention any of his own witnesses.
Well, he only had two.
I know, but he said you got to listen to the police officers. You got to listen to the eyewitnesses. You got to listen to the people. You got to listen to this. He didn't mention you've got to listen to our side of the story too. He listed off all of the prosecutor's witnesses. You have to listen to them. It was kind of an odd thing. All right. Maybe I'm being hypercritical, but that was kind of weird that you said you have to listen to all of the prosecutors.
This is what you say when you have nothing to say. I want you to pay attention to the evidence before you. It must come from your witness stand, right? This is all just saying something without saying anything, right?
Yeah. he is good at that. We'll give him bonus points for that.
But the entire burden rests with the state in this case.
Yes.
My client, Taylor Denise Schabusines, also has an absolute right to remain silent. Under the law, she has a right not to testify if she so chooses. And if she elects not to testify, you cannot use that fact alone against her in this trial. She doesn't have to testify, but she may testify. In this particular case, ladies and gentlemen, Taylor Denise Schabusines was friends with Shad. Okay, this is a nitpick. What do you think about the use of her full name? Here's what I'm thinking with that. And this is just how I react to using the full name. Right, Strawberry? Stop licking that ear unless you're paying medical bills. All right. All right. The reason I mentioned that is because I think, at least in my head, if she said, Taylor Schabusines has a right to a defense, or Taylor Schabusines is presumed innocent,
I think that humanizes them. But I think if you say Taylor Denise Schabusines, see, you never hear anybody's middle name unless they've done something really bad.
See, yeah, okay, that's actually a very good nitpick. I agree with that. That's good. See, but almost this goes back to not believing in your case, and those are the type of mental errors that you make when your heart's not really in it, right? Because you're mailing it in, you're Johnny Lunchbucking, you're just going through the motions. If you believe in it, if your passion's in it, you're going to say, my client, Miss Schabusines, is presumed innocent beyond reason unless she's proven beyond the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. And you're going to see that there's doubt in this case. Now, there may be doubts, and I would really have pushed her to go for the lesser, because I'd say, we don't know what happened in that room that night. The state doesn't. None of the witnesses that you will hear from were in that room. The only persons that were in that room were my client, Miss Schabusines, and the decedent in this case. And
That's a good point.
And the window into that room comes from her mentally distorted mind. So what she says, can you trust her mind beyond the exclusion of every reasonable doubt? And if you can't, what is the state going to prove? They're going to say, at best, she acted in a fit of impassion, of enrage, without planning. There's no evidence of any planning from any witness on the witness that will come out. You will hear about somebody who died as an accident, and maybe in a heat of passion where she couldn't resist, but no pre-planning. Nobody would pre-plan to kill a son in the basement of the child. In fact, the dissections that occur later, which are horrific, don't go to the intent that happened at that moment. And the only window we have into that space is Miss Schabusines' mind, which is obviously detached and insane. So that is a heat of passion killing. The state has overcharged. And we have reasonable doubts. Now, I'm not saying that it absolutely didn't happen the way stated, but there was no burden on us. The burden is over on the state's table. They have to prove beyond the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that she killed with an intent, a conscious predetermination. And that they will not do, because it's just as likely, the evidence is just as likely to show that she killed as an accident, or at least in the heat of passion. And if that's the facts, we have to operate rationally. We apply the law rationally, despite the destruction that you're going to see, and the gruesomeness and the craziness that you're going to see afterwards. The law says that we have to follow the facts, and the facts have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the state, and they will not prove first-degree murder. At best, they will prove second-degree murder, or perhaps that she was in a fit of insanity, and that's the window in the mind that you will see in the courtroom, and that's what the evidence will show.
You raised an interesting point. I don't recall at any time that he ever brought up the lesser included as a possible out for the jury.
But again, that's Schabusines' deal. So she may not have given him permission to make that argument, but that's
true.
the better argument.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. That would be the better argument to make.
And I mean, am I out of line? I mean, you watched all the evidence in the trial. I think that is the correct argument.
That's the best argument I've heard so far. Julie O, member for 10 months of the Clean and Sober crew, says, I don't need no fancy tests like MMPI. This is the crazy cat lady psychologist. Thank you so much for that. And this is something interesting as well. Heather Sparrow Bros. The middle name thing was weird too. So I'm glad. See, just whenever I hear anybody's middle name, I think, okay, they've done something bad, because you don't. But also, we should remember this guy got thrown on late after she pushed her last lawyer. He's been on this case since March, so it's April, May, June. It's 4 months. He's basically had 4 months to get himself ready for this trial. It's not a short time, but it's not excessively long.
Yeah, but you can make arguments like that without any preparation.
Yeah.
I just did it now without any.
He just did it now, right? And Dark Lotus says it all started consensually. See, that's the interesting thing is the statute describes, sexual act, like the sexual assault as involving sex, and it defines sex as the penetration of, orally, like oral, genital, or anal. And so all of the choking, all of the consent, all the foreplay stuff doesn't seem to actually count as the sexual part of it for the consent purposes.
Right, and this is the thing. To me, everything else is a lesser. I mean, secondary, the murder charge is the big ticket item. All the other things are lesser charges, lesser penalties. So you really have to attack the first degree murder charge as the defense. The thing is that I don't know. So okay, what's the argument if? See, it's such a difficult thing if she doesn't give consent to the lesser included charge, right?
Yeah.
That confession just is just destructive. I mean, it just destroys anything. Yeah, the consent as far as the sex stuff. First of all, you can't consent to murder, and second is that I think that the mutilation of the sexual stuff was done after the death, right?
Yeah, and I don't know what Wisconsin law is, but I would like to think that consent ends with unconsciousness.
Yes, well, it does. It does. And there's actually some good questioning about whether you can consent to aggravated battery. That's a whole nother rabbit hole that I would love to go down, but I don't want to interrupt your stream with it.
Well, I mean, that was one thing that my criminal law and evidence professor, Ronald Boyce, who made us spend $500 on the Boyce on Evidence book. And that was always his favorite case. Was two guys picked up a woman and they intended to grape her, but it turned out she had died before they didn't know. They just thought she was passed out, and that was their argument. Was, well, did they have the mens rea? They intended her to be alive, but she actually wasn't. So did they have the mens rea to grape the deceased person?
Well, there's my battery article in Ideas and Answers in Law talks about this from a battery standpoint, because you can consent to simple battery, and that mutual combat sports events are a good example. I go to the mosh pit at the Ginger Show on this Wednesday. I will be consenting to being touched by slightly touched by those who I do not know. I will completely consent by my action of entering into the mosh pit, right? So, but the intent about intent, I must intend to touch, but also the person must subjectively object to the touch. So if I want to commit a battery and I touch you, I give you a big hug because I want to hug you without your consent. But in fact, you do consent, you agree, I am not guilty of battery because it requires both. So it requires my intent and it requires your subjective intent or subjective desire not to be touched.
And you can also withdraw consent at any time.
That's true.
Unless you're dead.
And there's automatic with consent withdrawals by act. So, for example, in a burglary charge, if you enter into a house, enter or remain in a house with intent to commit a felony. So sometimes what will happen is somebody comes into a house. I've had a case where it was a drug deal gone bad. They entered in, they were consensually in the house, and then they stole the drugs and were tackled on the way out the house. At the point at which a violent felony occurs, the consent is automatically withdrawn. So therefore burglary occurs. So
yeah.
So this is very in the weeds. Probably too late on a Saturday night to be talking this stuff, but
no, I mean, those are important points to make. Is the fact that people say, well, he consented to the foreplay, but things went rapidly downhill after that.
Yes,
he can't consent to be murdered. He couldn't consent. He couldn't give his consent to be assaulted sexually because he was already dead. Yeah.
Right. That's an implied withdrawn consent.
Yeah. if only she had withdrawn.
Oh my goodness! See, there's lots of easy low hanging fruit.
High school together. They went to school at Bayport, and they had classes together. And they were, when they were younger, they dated for a short period of time, but basically they were friends. You're going to hear some testimony on, it was Wednesday, February 23rd of 2022. You're going to hear, I believe, a 911 tape. You're going to hear testimony from Tara Pakinich and Stephen Hendricks. They live at 829 Stony Brook Lane in Green Bay.
Okay, those are the mother and mother's boyfriend.
Mr. Hendricks, that he apparently went downstairs in the basement.
I'm going to mute you here, Steve, because I can hear you typing furiously.
Saw
Oh,
a bucket, saw a human head in the bucket, and he had checked it out because his significant other, Tara Pakinich, had initially went down there and saw this and had him go check.
Okay, and I would argue that the defense lawyer should probably just not emphasize that the victim's mother came downstairs and found the head in a bucket. I would try to find some way to mitigate
see,
that.
this is the thing. It's coming out, and
Yeah.
it exists. There's nothing you can do about that fact.
Why even mention it? Why even mention it?
Well,
Ugh.
at what point you're talking about basic lawyering kind of skills that we are told to call our clients Miss Schabusines and with respect and the state, but at this point those little tricks mean nothing in this type of case.
I mean, just say you're going to hear from the deceased person's mother and her boyfriend and move on. So you're going to hear from the deceased's mother and her significant other who called 911 because she went down in the basement and found his severed head in a bucket. Maybe I'm just, it's stylistic nitpicking, but it was kind of weird.
He didn't have glasses on, but he apparently called 911, and that caused the officers to come to the scene at 829 Stony Brook Lane. There'll be some testimony about this residence. It's a small, quaint home. It's got a loft upstairs where I believe Tara Pakinich and Stephen Hendricks were sleeping. It has a floor level with kitchen, living area, and then it has a basement. And there will be testimony. We believe that Stephen Hendricks last saw Shad at the house on Monday night, which I believe would have been February 21st of 2022. He will indicate that both of them will indicate that they really did not see TAYLOR SCHABUSINESS leave. They heard a vehicle start, a door slam, caused them to wake up. Officer Wanish, you'll hear from him. He came to the house and went down the basement to make some observations. That the officers did a protective sweep. They walked around the basement and the entire house to see if there were any other people there on February 23rd, 2022. And the only people that were there were Tara Pakinich, the owner, Stephen Hendricks, and the daughter, Ava Wheelock. Those people were there. No TAYLOR SCHABUSINESS was there. She wasn't in the basement. She wasn't anywhere in the house. But obviously there was some investigation, and evidence was apparently found. And it's true that law enforcement officers didn't have a clear picture or clear understanding of what was really happening or what happened. And so they're trying to figure things out as they went along.
Steve's argument, that's what Steve just argued, but Steve argued it in a much more eloquent way. Comment, Steve?
Well, I mean, what do you want me to say? Thank you for the compliment. I mean, I'm not trolling for compliments here. I appreciate it.
We're calling for criticisms of him because that was exactly what you said, but in like, she wasn't there and they didn't see anything, but they found some evidence and they're just trying to figure it out.
Well, and
Steve
this is
was
what
much
I
more
wanna,
passionate.
Well, and I want to tell, because I believe in there's some news reporting on some of my trials that I've done. Okay, and it's interesting because I don't think any of my trials have been televised, but I've had a lot of trials, and it's interesting. There's a really good reporter up in Flagler County that does reporting, and he does excellent kind of blow-by-blow analysis of trials, and he's done several of my trials, and it's interesting to hear his reflections because he says I'm passionate and I'm dramatic, And I do believe in passion and drama. And I'm not trying to create drama. I'm not trying to, but what I'm saying is that you can present, when you present your argument, when you present what you're saying, like even what I'm saying right now, it's the tone of voice, it's the word choice, it's the body language, it's your whole being. You communicate with everything that you have, and that includes emphasis and drama and action and visualization, painting pictures with your hands and your feet and your eyes and your eye contact and your words and your inflection, everything. So what he's doing, it's like he could be reading this from a paper.
Well, see, the interesting thing, and if you want in on the stream, you're more than welcome to it. But I'm going to be doing a stream probably in the next week or two, hopefully before I go on vacation. If not, shortly after I get back from vacation, on the dying, if not dead, art of oration. I plan on showing videos from Jerry Spence, Clarence Darrow, and F. Lee Bailey. There's no more great orators out there. These people that are passionate about the use of language, the verbiage they use, the mental pictures they paint with their arguments, and the passion that they deliver it is gone. I think we've become too much.
A lot
like
of it's
normal
because
people.
of this stuff.
Yeah,
because of the flash and the TV and the devices that we have, and everybody's kind of stunned. Like I go to see the Ginger concert, right? And we're slamming around in the pit, and it's like in your face, and it's everything, and they put their hearts and souls into it. And then there's always going to be, now I will say metalheads are their own group. One of the things I love about it is because there's not a lot of people doing this, holding their phone up. You're at a show, you've got all this excitement around you. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the people that are around you, enjoy the show and the band right here. You're not going to watch back this video, but yet we've become desensitized. Now I will say that's most everybody. All right. That is the truth. However, a courtroom still retains that quality. There isn't this click sort of thing. The courtroom is the place where that sort of skill set is invaluable. Those skills are effective and still work and still communicate passion and still communicate. We are still humans. So this is he doesn't have this skill set.
Yeah, but no, I don't think anybody has that real oratory skill set anymore.
Anybody?
I mean,
wait a second, you just got done praising me, and now you're
I am praising you, but I mean, I love you, Steve, but you ain't no Clarence Darrow.
Well, I don't, not yet.
Clarence Darrow was Clarence Darrow. No, yeah, I mean, because the classic case, of course, with Clarence Darrow was the Leopold and Loeb case, where it's not unlike Schabusines. They killed a young kid and drove around with him in their car the entire day, and they were up for the death penalty. And at that point, really all that Clarence Darrow could do was argue against the death penalty. They argue for life in prison. He was just trying to keep them from being executed. And I mean, they clearly, they horribly murdered this kid and drove around with him in the car all day. And by the end of the closing arguments, Clarence Darrow had the judge crying. In a open and closed, if anybody needs to get the death penalty, it's these two cases. And he had the judge crying at the end of the closing arguments. And so I think we lack that. And
I don't know. I've seen some great. I mean, there are great lawyers out there, and it might be because there's so much going on, and we're jaded, and we're so nitpicky and ripping people apart, and the culture is so toxic, and everybody wants to rip each other up. That might be it. But I mean, we have in our office. Go look on one of my streams, Rumble streams. I did a Rumble stream on the Beyond a Reasonable Doubt standard. It was about a 1-hour stream, but in the middle of that, I did an 8-minute clip of one of our office's trial attorneys at work, a fellow named John Terhune, who argues with passion that you would not believe. He does an 8-minute closing argument, 8-minute not guilty. And he picked that case up that morning. He picked the case up because the person who'd had the case was sick, and he picked the case up, argued it, 8-minute closing, not guilty. MG Laws and all. He says it was a very good stream.
Yeah.
I was pleased with that stream. And again, I had something to say. And but those people do exist. But I don't know. It
And
might
again,
be
so
that-
you are passionate. I mean, you give great arguments. You give great oration. Yeah. Sorry, I almost misspoke there. I had to catch myself.
Oh, right.
You give great oration, and you are passionate this way. But where did you learn to do that?
I don't know. That's a good.
We don't teach oration. We don't teach oratory style.
Can it be taught? Maybe it's by watching others. I mean, and being humble and knowing that you can be better, and watching great lawyers work and putting it in there, and taking in those qualities from others that you see, that you feel are part of you, and being true to yourself and listening to mentors. I mean, I really love teaching trial attorneys. We have our office is so good. We have such good trial attorneys. And one of the things I teach them is be true to yourself. And so it's not something, it's an art, and it takes time, and you have to watch. So that's a good question. It would probably be a long discussion.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's why I want to have. That's why I want to do this oratory. I say I have videos. There's only one video I could find of Clarence Darrow talking about social issues, not arguing a case. But the guy was talking about basic social issues, and you're like, holy crap! I've never heard this great of a speaker in my life. F. Lee Bailey has some amazingly passionate arguments out there. Jerry Spence is like the GOAT of passionate argument, and the guy's like 94 years old, and he's still arguing a case against him. Yeah, I mean, and he's one of the people that's never lost a criminal case. Of course, when you get to be his level, you get to pick and choose. But if you can defend Imelda Marcos and come out on top, you're pretty damn good, especially in the political climate at the time. Randy, I mean, the guy's a great orator, and I want to do that. Like, what is it about their styles that we're lacking today? Hey, Steph the Alter Nerd in chat. What's up, Steph the Alter Nerd? Good to have you here, Steph. I like the great speakers. I love listening to people that can speak well. And as someone here said, I didn't clip it. I didn't catch it. I didn't star it. Someone up above said, we don't read out loud anymore. And Steve, who has just completed some audiobooks, can tell you reading out loud is an art to make it engaging. And we don't read out loud anymore. I like that comment.
That's an interesting observation. That's a good point. Well, I read to my son. I don't know. I mean, we are the culmination of all of our experiences, and we should always work to be a little bit better every day. And that goes for everybody. And, we're all at different levels and have different ceilings. But if you work at being, and we're all imperfect, if you're perfect now, if you have no room for improvement, then you've achieved the highest level that you'll ever be, then you won't improve. But if you come at it with humility and say, there's something to be learned from this person here, and there's something to be learned, and there's people that are just better than you. I mean, I always say in my office, and she says that she doesn't take it well, we have a trial attorney in our office who's better at me at everything. Her name is Rosemary Peoples, and she's one of our capital trial people. And I always had, well, I'm smarter on the law, or I'm better at closing arguments, or I'm better at motion practice. Whatever thing I think I'm better at, she's better. And, and I recognize that. I'm like, okay, yes, I acknowledge it. And she doesn't like me saying this, but I'm going to say it online again. But, but it's true. And so, but if you think you're so great, if you don't have a little bit of humility, then you're not going to learn. You're not going to improve. So be consciously humble and open your ears.
That's the classic statement. There's always bigger artillery somewhere in the valley. If you think you are the pinnacle, you're going to get taken out pretty quickly. You look for that's why, I don't like playing games against people I'm better than, but I do it so they can grow from it. I like to have people, if I play chess or something, I like to play chess with someone who would just crush me horribly. I mean, it's boring as hell for them, but I like it because I realize that one, I suck, and two, there's a vast room for improvement, and I look to see how they crushed me so easily. So I like playing games against people that are just exponentially
look at
better than me at it.
Volstorm makes it says attorneys should take acting classes to improve their presentation.
Yeah.
Well, who's doing that is Uncivil Law. And one of the things that he's doing, he's doing improv, and he's doing some things that are trying to improve himself, and so that's a quality that you should always try to incorporate. Is like, okay, I am not perfect. I have weakness,
Yeah.
and I know that I'm not perfect. I know I could handle a lot of things better. I wish I was, there's lots of stuff I could do better.
And I don't know, is Toastmasters still a thing?
Yeah, my wife did Toastmasters for a
Okay.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically where you get around and everybody has to speak. I don't know. I was, another little quality that I'll throw in there that kind of goes into my presentation, because I was very introverted and I was very in the shell, is when I started playing bass and I was in bands, and then I was an ear player, and I could read my guitar player's hand. So I knew the chords that he could play. So I could hit the root note on the one, and I could play anything he could play. But it was very much of an improv. And I had to stand up in front of 100 people every night, following his hand, not knowing the songs. We never practiced once. I will tell you, that was really quite a challenge. And that helped me be able to stand up in front of a lot of people, not knowing anything.
Right. I've got a hard out here in 10 minutes. So you need to, let's move on here just a little bit. See, get it through as much of this as we can, because 10 minutes, I got to take a break. And then at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to be on with Danny on. So I'm on a hard exit here. Let's go. Mr. Defense guy. I just bumped up. What have I done? There we go.
There would be some testimony from other officers with regards to the other scene, which is 2353 Eastman Avenue in Green Bay. That, I submit, was Taylor Schabusines' apartment. And she lived there with Scott Thoms, Thoms. And law enforcement officers came over there, and my client came out of the apartment complex, and she was arrested. She had a warrant. She was taken into a squad car and taken down to the Green Bay Police Department for questioning by Detective Groff and Detective Kevin Kempf. Also, law enforcement arrested the other person in apartment one, that was Taylor's apartment, Scott Thoms. He was ordered to lay on the ground, and he was taken into custody as well. You'll hear from lots of different officers, in this case, law enforcement officers.
That was a throwaway. See, Tom's was the only other guy that could have done that, because it was his van. It was his van that was parked in front of the house. Nobody saw her leave. Nobody saw anything. Nobody saw who drove the van. Rather than saying he was taken down and arrested, could have kind of maybe pointed the finger at him a little more. Suggested that maybe there was someone else that could have committed the murder without coming straight out and saying it was him, because in Wisconsin, you have that weird thing where you have to do the whole, Denny motions and things like that.
Wisconsin has a Denny motion, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder how much you could get away with that, because you could suggest it and say, how did she know this? Well, she was with this fellow. Maybe she's taken the fall for somebody else who told her what happened.
I'm not sure what the Denny line is, but he could have walked a little closer to it, I think.
The officers found a gold Chrysler Town and Country minivan, I believe 2006, and they found it parked in the Eastman Avenue parking lot, and there were some concerns about it. Now, this vehicle is owned by Scott Thoms, and I believe that will come out that he was the one that owned that vehicle. But inside that vehicle, there was a crock pot box, and there were some human body parts in there. In this particular case, you'll also hear from Dr. Tranchita. He's the medical examiner, did a lot of investigative work, looking at the cause
great expert.
and manner of death of the deceased. So you'll hear about all of his findings. You're also
We heard all about his findings
from Kevin Scott. He's the DNA analyst for the state of Wisconsin Crime Lab, and his testimony, I believe, will show that he took various swabs as part of the DNA analysis, and items were swabbed.
This is what he was doing during cross-examination, just talking too much about nothing helpful.
There are blades, there are light switch, there's boxes, hands.
I'm very interested what she had told her attorney to do, what her responses were, what her interests were.
Yeah.
Possible contribution of DNA from Shatherian as it relates to the dildo is inconclusive due to the complexity of the mixture. So the state is going to argue that there was a sexual assault by use of the dildo, and
Don't tell the jury what the prosecution's going to argue.
that's something you'll have to take into consideration. You're going to hear from Sergeant Kurt Brester from the Green Bay Police Department. He was dispatched to 829 Stony Brook Lane regarding a suspicious situation on February 23rd, 2022, and that he conferred with Officer Wanish outside, that he had contact with Tara Pakinich and Stephen Hendricks, and that he did a protective sweep of the residence, and they didn't find anybody else other than Ava Wheelock, who was the young lady, she's 16, sleeping in a bedroom. You're going to hear from, I believe, Officer TJ Buckman, that he arrived on the scene as a supervisor to this apartment complex. He actually went to 2353 Eastman Avenue in Green Bay. He saw that gold van parked outside, and he had several other officers keep the van under surveillance. And at least from his initial investigation, he did not have enough information to determine whether or not TAYLOR SCHABUSINESS was the suspect or the victim. And so those are some other things that you're going to have to take a look at and think about. You're going to see the videotape in this case, where there's a lengthy video down at the Green Bay Police Department between Detective Groff and Detective Kempf and my client, Taylor Denise Schabusines. And they talked, and Detective Groff asked her lots of questions about what she knew and her whereabouts and what may or may not have happened. So you have to pay close attention to that and think about the things that are said. In a case like this, and really in any case, you have to assess the credibility of each and every witness. You have to take all of that into consideration in this matter. I'd ask that you, when you're considering all of the evidence, don't jump to conclusions. Don't rush to judgment. Please keep an open mind.
That's the death knell for an opening statement right there.
Carefully and weigh what they have to say. And remember, there's always two sides to every story. You jurors are going to have to
See, what was the other side, though?
Yeah.
He never enunciated, so he did not deliver.
But at the end of the case, we ask that you find our client not guilty on all the counts.
Yeah. I think he would have been better served by saying, yeah, I mean, very, very short, maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes. Just say, look, the defense is going to march the prosecution is going to march a bunch of witnesses through here, but we're going to put on an argument. We're going to put on a case. We're going to show you that these people are not reliable. You cannot rely on, and just, make it up as you go along. You should have at least said, we're gonna show you, instead of saying, well, you have to evaluate their credibility. Say, we are going to argue that you cannot trust these witnesses. That there's credibility problems with each of these witnesses. You just something, give the jurors something to hang on to and go, oh, they're gonna tell us something.
You see, there's no see, the facts are so bad, but I don't know. I would have pushed very hard to try to get second degree. I mean, that's just.
Yeah. So you gave him a C minus.
I gave him a low C. A low
C.
I think there was a 73. I gave him a 73. Which is satisfactory, low satisfactory, barely satisfactory.
And I give the judge full marks like you did.
100%, 97 for the prosecution team. Little nitpick nibbles. They were excellent. I just think they could be a little bit better. They could be the case presentation could have been a little sharper. They could have not duplicated some witnesses. They could have narrative. They could have cut down the time and been a little bit better on theming, some little style points, but overall excellent on the prosecutors. And the witnesses, I gave a low A because that one cop, I didn't like that one cop who was being difficult with the defense. And it was the only opening that, it was interesting when that one cop was difficult. That was the very opening where the defense made the most points because he was trying to squiggle and squirm. And so, MG Law gave him a C minus D plus. Actually, most people, Nick Recato was the one that was in the D minus category. Most of the people said, C minus D plus. MG law. Most people agree that maybe it's just that I've been in the shoes of having a case where you have nothing. But it's fun because sometimes, our prosecutors don't listen to me. I'm the evil, bad defense attorney. So why would you listen to Gosney? And therefore, they don't know what not to do. And so they give me all kinds of ammo and screw up a case that they should just slam dunk me, but they don't. So they give me all kinds of grift, and I can go to town on them. So that's always fun.
And to me, as you clearly said, the best witness was the medical examiner, and the worst was the defense's psychologist. I mean, is there anyone that could possibly argue differently?
Brandon says the judge was overly deferential to the prosecution. I don't think so. I don't agree with that.
He was very deferential to both within the bounds of
He gave
his
both
role as a
sides.
judge.
First of all, he listened to both sides. Whenever there was an objection, and he would wear them out. He'd say, okay, is there anything that I haven't heard before? Is there anything more you have to say? No? Okay, here's my ruling. And the big ruling that I thought was so great that showed he was fair was that deviating from the standard instructions to give the defense requested alteration to the instruction. And the state put up a fight on that one, and he listened to both sides and gave it to the defense. That was excellent. So I don't know. I think he was fair all the way around. I couldn't tell you if he was pro state or pro defense. He was pro.
I don't think he was pro. Yeah, right. That's exactly how what I would say. And we got a few of the super chats here, and then we got to wrap it up. Thanks, Law Rack, says Dr. Lotus, and thanks Steve Gosney and Chandler Remington and everybody else that was on the panel.
Yes, thank you, mods. Thank you, mods.
Would have been really dumb and horrible if I would have had to do everything all by myself.
Well, and I came on. I thank you for having me on. I kind of said, hey, can I come on and play? Because I just feel like, this is one of those trials. When I commit to a trial, I'm on there and I've watched the whole thing. I need this wrap up too, right?
And let's go. Brandon says, Steve out there ripping and a tearing.
Is that a song? I don't know. Was that did you like my opening statement, or what was that?
We liked it.
Yeah, he says the Dahmer shit shouldn't have come in. No, I think that was the correct ruling, actually.
Yeah.
I think he kept out the Satan Bible and the KKK stuff,
right,
which was the right call. But I think the Dahmer stuff was relevant. It was within the searches were very close in time, and that goes to first degree murder. That goes to pre-planning.
Mm-hmm.
So
she had a bunch of Dahmer pictures on her phone that apparently weren't downloaded minutes prior to the killing. They've been there forever. Forever. I mean, longer than the time.
But it shows predisposition and not accident and not second degree murder, right? Which means it's relevant.
Yeah. And Stephen Crater, $5 super chat. Thank you. Are you going to watch the defense attorney's interview with Chanley Painter? No, frankly, because we just don't have time. That's all. We don't have time. We're officially out of time.
Move along, counselor.
Yeah. Right now, and KLI says, I bet Ginger eats one of her bandmates.
Ginger's awesome, man. You ever seen Tatiana? Beast of a singer.
Yeah. Tia Nena, I give Legal Vices and Nadia Comaneci a perfect 10. Tia, you're old. Nadia Comaneci. Of course, how do I know you're old? Because I'm old too. I remember watching Nadia Comaneci get that perfect 10 too with the
I remember that. I was in the.
Her coach was Bella
Caroli.
Bella Caroli. I kept having I was like, no, it's not Bella Lugosi. It was Bella Caroli. Yeah, I just knew it was a Bella. I knew it wasn't Lugosi. Yeah, all right. That's awesome.
Bella Lugosi. Well, that's the horror actor, right?
Yeah, I know. I kept saying Bella Lugosi. I know it's Bella, and it's with an E, like an I, and it's not. That's right. Yeah, thank you for pulling that out. And then I'll say Melvin Bell. I know he's a lawyer. Anyway, there we go. Lawyer and also on Star Trek, the original series. Right. Well, that's it. That kind of brings an end to this. We'll do little bits and pieces of business going forward because grift. I think I'm going to preload a bunch of business for while I'm on vacation, just to kind of give you a 5 or 10 minute or like one witness each day or something while I'm on vacation. Just something to keep me out there in the algorithm. So we don't all forget about me. Coming up, I got 10 days. 10 days from now, I'm leaving on vacation for 2 weeks. So we'll do Maritime Monday tomorrow, some stuff on Tuesday, some more stuff on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll do OJ. Friday, more stuff. And then we'll go Monday, Tuesday of next week. And then I am out of here for 2 weeks. I'll try to do something from Texas every now and then maybe drop in occasionally while I'm in Utah. But mostly it's going to be hanging out with friends and spending some time with family.
Yes, and I will be doing a meet and greet in Destin, Florida this Wednesday before the Ginger Show at Starbucks. It's an informal thing. Just show up at 6:30 at Starbucks, and we'll go to the Ginger Show at 8 o'clock. And I'll do a meet and greet in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, on Friday. I think it's the 18th. It's 18th or 19th. Anyways, Denver, Colorado coming up at the bar in the hotel. It's all on my website. So.
All right. And his website is stevegosney.com.
Yes.
Go there. Lots and lots of books you can buy. Lots of cool stuff to see there and do. Music, law, and books. Do it all at stevegosney.com. Me, just hang out here on Legal Vices because that's me. And what's going to happen now is when we end this, we're going to automatically redirect over to Danny on. She's going to be starting in 7 minutes-ish, and I will be right over there. So everybody hang tight, stick around. We are apparently, according to what Danny sent me, said we're going to be talking Kevin Spacey, aliens, and bullshit from Stanford. So that apparently is what the menu is for the day. And we're going to head on over there right now. Steve, thank you so much for being here. Yoda, thank you so much for being some eye candy down there. Go back to sleep. All right, there you go. And me, everybody, thank you so much, mods. Thank you so much, chat. Thank you for all the support, love, and kindness. We will see you tomorrow for Maritime Monday. We never want to be without Maritime Monday for too long, and it's been far too long because of these trials. All righty. On that note, I guess it's time to say goodbye to TAYLOR SCHABUSINESS for now. See y'all. That was so good. I just wanted you to hear it right to the final note.
That was nice.
Now,
I've
now
never,
we're really going to give the out.